Good evening, citizens. The time is 7:33. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Vice President Ferguson, could you do the invocation, please?
Good evening, everyone. Is that Agua?
That's good.
Father God, we just give you the glory and the honor. We just thank you for another opportunity to come before you and to bless your name. We ask, Lord Jesus, that you will give us peace, direction, and wise counsel as we make decisions for the city of Glenarden. We ask that you would just bless the citizens, to bless everyone that is associated with this city of Glenarden. In Jesus' name, amen.
There we go. Madam Clerk, could you do the roll call, please?
Councilwoman Fareed?
Here.
Councilwoman Guillaume is in transit. We're expecting her.
Here.
Oh, there she is. Councilman Herring?
Here.
Councilman Hairston?
Here.
Councilwoman Jones?
Here.
Council Vice President Ferguson?
Here.
Council President Curtis?
Here. Mr. Gray, we're getting a lot of feedback. There we go. I think we're good to go. All right, look. How about this? Nope, it's not that.
That's fine.
All right, there we go. I think it's gone now. All right, is there a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second? Any discussion? Councilman Harry?
Yes. Question, why is the 2024 budget on this agenda when we still have work to do on it?
Yeah, it was just on there. I'm pretty sure somebody else wanted a motion to table it tonight, but that was the original.
Oh, okay.
That was on the, if you guys looked, it was on the rolling agenda. And so we had it on there just in case we could make it for tonight, but that's not going to happen. So I motion that we table it. Well, we're in discussion, so we can take it off. We don't really have to.
Also, R34, a resolution to ensure vaccinations for uninsured children. That popped up when? Because I don't remember that being part of the work session, public hearing, even though we had a public hearing on it or anything else. And it's popped up here again. And that's what I don't care for. It's this last minute legislation is popping up with no discussion on that. And even though we had discussion on it, but it isn't. Yeah, I'm just curious when did this pop up?
Well, it was introduced on May the 1st. Had a public hearing on May the 9th. So it's gone through all the. It's gone through the proper protocol, and now it's on tonight's agenda for vote.
Okay, so when did we, okay, I need to know what our timelines for submissions for stuff to get on this agenda, because I thought we had a deadline of what, Wednesday, Tuesday?
I believe it should have been Wednesday, but we were still working on it, so.
Okay, so it's a floating, it's not a definite deadline, so we can submit stuff up to today?
No.
Okay, so I'm not understanding this because again, if we're gonna have a deadline for when legislation should be submitted, and I'm trying to abide by that rule. I think everybody should have to abide by that rule. If that's the rule, that the deadline also it isn't fair to the clerk to have some stuff submitted at the last minute, and then she got to pull an agenda together when we really should have an agenda ready to go by Wednesday so people can have it in time to review for this meeting. Not only council, but also citizens. I don't think it's fair to be dropping resolutions on here for me as a council member, not knowing that this was going to pop up until today. I looked at my packet, or looked at the packet and saw it. So, and we had, and there's 4 others on here. That we had 11 on at the public hearing, and now there's 15 tonight.
The only thing extra is the emergency ordinance, which we're tabling. Everything else, I believe, with the exception of, I think R34 was read was available at the public hearing last week.
Okay. Yeah, I just think we need to stick to these timelines. It's not only fair to the council, it's also fair to, it's the only way to be fair to the clerk and to the citizens so that they know exactly what's going to be in this agenda. Because a lot of them would be expecting to see what's at that public hearing to be the only thing on these agendas. And so if they did want to reach out to their local official about something that was coming up, they would not have known about it until, I don't know when it got on the agenda. Friday, I'm assuming. I'm not sure. I don't know. I didn't see it when I last looked at the agenda. So, yeah, I think we need to stick to that timeline, the deadline for submissions. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Herring. I agree, and we'll be more mindful of that moving forward. Any other discussion outside of tabling the budget ordinance? All right. Councilwoman Fareed.
Yeah, I don't know why it's being said that this information wasn't available, because that information was communicated. We knew from the last regular meeting that particular legislation was going to appear on for this regular meeting. So it's nothing new that popped up.
Mr. President, that was not communicated to me as a council member, right? It might have been communicated to you, but it wasn't communicated to me. So that's what I'm saying. I'm part of the council too, as well as the rest of the council, as well as the citizens. Because you two knew, don't mean I knew.
All right, so for clarity, the setup that's established now is that there is a deadline, and the council clerk sends out the agenda to the council members. Council members can comment on the agenda if we forgot something, because we're human, we may have forgotten something, so it's very likely that we forgot it from the last time. And then Councilwoman Fareed, I'm not saying this is how it went, but Councilwoman Fareed would have reminded us that, hey, when it went out to the council, I don't see R34 on here. We were supposed to put it on here. And then we went and put it on there, and then we posted it online. And how long has this been posted, Madam Clerk?
It was posted on Friday.
Friday, yeah. So we'll try our best to keep it to our deadlines. But again, the month of June has been jam-packed, so we haven't gotten everything right, but we have tried our best. But Resolution R34 has been in existence since May the 1st. Any other discussion? Okay, so Madam Clerk, could you do the roll call for the agenda minus the ordinance, but still leaving room for council to discuss the budget if they would like to? Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Fareed,
Yes.
Councilwoman Guillaume,
Yes.
Councilman Hairston,
Yes.
Councilman Herring,
Abstain.
Councilwoman Jones,
Yes.
Council Vice President Ferguson,
Yes.
and Council President Curtis.
Yes.
Vote carries.
Thank you. All right, first up is the motion to approve the minutes from May the 1st, the work session, May the 3rd, emergency closed session, May 9th, our public hearing, May 15th, our regular session, May the 22nd, our public hearing for the constant yield, and May 31st, special work budget session. Is there a motion to adopt these minutes into the record?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion or opposition? Hear none, by unanimous consent, these minutes are hereby adopted. Next up is legislation. We have a long slate tonight, so Madam Clerk and I will go back and forth to give her a break, so it's not all on her. So if you want to start out, Madam Clerk, the first resolution is R34-2023, a resolution to ensure vaccination for uninsured children to enable their attendance in school in the city of Glenarden. Madam Clerk?
Resolution R34, the sponsor is Councilwoman Fareed. Co-sponsor is Councilwoman Guillaume. The public hearing was May 9th. We're in regular session today, June 20th, and it was introduced on May 1st. A resolution to ensure vaccination for uninsured children under 18 to enable their attendance in school in the city of Glenarden. Whereas the right to education is fundamental to every child's development, and whereas ensuring the health and safety of children attending school is crucial to their education and the well-being of the community as a whole, and whereas vaccines are an effective tool in preventing the spread of infectious diseases, and whereas many children under 18 in our community do not have health insurance coverage, are unable to afford the cost of vaccines, putting them at risk of contracting preventable illnesses, and whereas lack of proper vaccinations prevents children under 18 from being able to attend public school, and whereas all children under 18 deserve equal access to quality health care services, including preventive measures such as vaccinations, and now therefore be it resolved by the Council of the City of Glenarden, Maryland, sitting in regular session this 20th day of June 2023, establish a community vaccination program for children under 18 years old that 1. ARPA funding will cover the cost of the vaccinations. 2. Advocate for the implementation of policies and programs that ensure the availability of all free or low-cost vaccinations for uninsured children under 18. 3. Work with local health providers and community organizations to identify and assist uninsured families with children under 18 in accessing free or low-cost vaccinations. 4. Collaborate with schools and other educational institutions to ensure that all children under 18 attending school are up to date on their vaccinations regardless of their insurance status. 5. Host an annual back-to-school vaccination clinic in partnership with trained and authorized medical professionals who will administer the vaccinations. Vaccinations for uninsured residents of Glenarden will be paid for by the City of Glenarden. 6. Raise awareness about the importance of vaccinations and their benefit to the individual and to the community through community outreach programs, public awareness campaigns, including promoting World Immunization Week, April 24th through April 30th annually, and other educational initiatives. 7. Monitor the implementation of this resolution and report back to the City of Glenarden residents on its progress and effectiveness. In conclusion, the City of Glenarden is committed to ensuring that all children under the age of 18 in the community have access to vaccinations they need to stay healthy and to attend school. We call on our federal and state government, health care providers, and community partners to join us in this effort to ensure that no child is left behind due to lack of access to health care services.
Is there a motion to bring this resolution to the floor for a vote?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
I'm sorry, Mr. President, I didn't hear. Was that Council-
The first motion was Councilwoman Jones. The second was from Vice President Ferguson. Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. President.
Councilman Herring?
Again, like I said, last time this came up, I think this legislation is not needed. This is not a burden that this city need to take on. The state of Maryland has a very, very, very good CHIPS program, Children Health Insurance Program. Why we are stepping into an arena that we are not qualified to deal with is beyond me. The school, and I think this legislation is very misleading. I think lines 24, 5, and 6 need to be stricken out, where it says, whereas many children under 18 in our community do not have health insurance coverage. That is absolutely not true, because Maryland offers free health insurance coverage for children up to, I think it's 21 almost. So there's free health insurance from the state of Maryland. They do have health insurance and they do have coverage. So I think that line needs to be stricken out, and I would like to have it stricken out because that's not telling the truth to the citizens in this community. Even in the school system, when we talked about the students in the school that were supposed to not have been immunized, yeah, they weren't, but they also had resources to go to get immunized. Again, we are stepping on something that we don't know how to control. I don't think the city manager should be burdened with this program. It's different if you just wanted to do a vaccination clinic, a one-time vaccination clinic, and have professionals come in here and give them use of the building or the gold room to do these vaccinations. That's different. But to sit there and put it in our hands and then say the city's going to pay for vaccinations, and that means we have to make sure everything that comes in this building is certified, that everything is in order, in decency when it comes down to health regulations and health requirements. I don't think that's something that we want to get involved in. Again, I don't think this is needed, and I think, like I said, the legislation does have misleading lines in here, like 24, 5, and 6, which I want stricken out. I mean, once this legislation comes to the floor, it belongs to the council, and I'm asking that those lines be stricken out. Host an annual bank. So I'm just saying, again, this is not our field of professionalism. We want to vaccinate kids, and we can't even pave the daggone streets in Ward 3. So, I mean, I don't think this legislation is needed because, again, between the county and the state, children are very well covered when it comes down to immunizations and health care. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Harry. Councilwoman Fareed, and then I'll come to you. Okay. Councilwoman Fareed.
Yes, thank you, Council President. I just want to clarify that the clinic, again, is not an ongoing clinic, so it's not like people make appointments and come on, any given day. It is a one-time clinic, just as Councilman Herring described. It would just be done in an annual, it would be done annually, one day during a back-to-school event. So that we could help those students be vaccinated prior to their returning to school.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Councilman Fareed. So go ahead and come here. Vice President Ferguson.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that on line 50, it does indicate that it's an annual back-to-school vaccination clinic, which would be like a one-day thing.
Councilman Hairston.
I'm sorry. So I wanted to know, can we just do that? Like, do we really need a resolution for it, or can we just do it like how we do the expungement fee? Like, we don't have a resolution for it, we just do it annually. Do we really need a resolution for it?
Councilwoman Fareed.
Take politics out of it. Annually.
Councilwoman Fareed.
Yes, thank you, Council President. So let's just keep in mind that this resolution is not just about the vaccination clinic. What this resolution is stating is the city's stance on education as well. So I know there's a lot of talk around vaccination clinic, but there are a number of other items out there around the educational piece, partnering with schools, partnering with others in the county and in the state to bring resources to the city. So this is much broader than just a one-day vaccination clinic.
But can't we still just do that as like just an annual event without the resolution? It's just a question.
So if it was just for the clinic, then yes, but with resolutions, that is a statement of the city's position on something, and that's the stance that this resolution is taking, that we will be active proponents of education around vaccine. And one of the things that we'll do as a indication of that commitment is a vaccination clinic. And I mean, I guess that question could be asked about any resolution that we do. Can we just do it, or do we need a resolution for it?
Mr. President, may I?
One second. I just wanted to make sure Councilman Harrison was fine. All right, thank you. Mr. Harris?
Yeah,
Councilman Harrison?
I guess my question again is, why are we partnering with people who are already partnered up? The state, the county are already partnered up when it comes down to healthcare for the children. Why are we jumping into an arena we have absolutely no expertise in? And why are we putting this burden on our city manager to be proficient and have expertise in vaccinations and education and all these other things when it's already out there? The information is already out there. The partnerships are already made. You know, schools are already notify parents. The county is partnered with the health department. The health department is partnering with the state. So you got that whole circle there who deal with health insurance and health care for children. I'm not understanding why we're trying to reinvent the wheel and put ourselves in the middle of something that we actually have no expertise in, and putting that burden on our city manager and our administration for that fact, because it says that they got to monitor this and report back to the council on this. I don't think it's fair when it's already there. I'm not understanding the whole purpose of this when children are already being vaccinated. It's just like we just want to say we're doing it because we're doing it. I mean, it's not like it's really absolutely nothing that we can actually do. A lot of this stuff is regulated by HIPAA. People are not going to tell you that. We won't know if they're vaccinated or not unless they tell us. They don't have to share medical information with us. It's not our field. We should not be diving into something that we have no expertise in. And we should not be burdening our administration with something that they actually really can't do. I'm not understanding the whole premise. I mean, my thing is if we think kids aren't getting vaccinated, then we need to go to our school, the school board, or we need to go to the county health department, and we need to go to the state of Maryland and make sure that they're doing what they need to do to make sure our kids are can avail themselves of what's out there and the resources out there. Also, we need to make sure that every parent in this community know that they can apply for CHIPs so that the children can have health insurance. That's the way you get the vaccinations out there to the children. Make sure that they get the resources that are already out there for them, and that they are part of the CHIPS program, and that they are and that they're getting the health care that they are entitled to. That's what we should be doing, not passing a piece of legislation burdening our administration with something that we actually have no experience in. And I want to know exactly who is going to lead this whole vaccination clinic and all this vaccination, the whole program. Who's going to lead this? You know, I would like to know that.
Well, thank you, Councilman Harry. So, I'm sorry. And so, question. So I wanted to ask a question, then I'm going to go to Councilwoman Jones. Because it's been said twice that this will be a burden on the administration. So, Councilwoman, City Manager Barber, would this? I'm sorry. City Manager Habada.
Yes.
Will this be a burden on the administration?
I think it depends on what the council's planning and in terms of it's a one annual event, right? Back to school.
Yes, annual event.
And then during the year, is there the intent that the contact with, in terms of education, is going to happen through what mechanism? Volunteers or the police officer who goes to the school, or what was the sense of council in terms of the education piece?
Okay, so we'll circle back around, because I'll leave that for the sponsor of the resolution, and then I'll go to Councilwoman Jones and then Councilwoman Fareed.
Okay, so I see this as this resolution is going to be like a catch-all. We know that most of the children in the Prince George's County, state of Maryland area, and other states have insurance, or they have something in their state that will give them insurance so that they will be vaccinated. But to me, it's just like Councilwoman Fareed says, it's education, but it's mostly a catch-all. There's going to be that one person that's going to call up to the city of Glenarden and speak to the city manager and say, I have this issue, how can you help me? And if we have something in place that can assist citizens to give them information, whether the city of Glenarden sends them to the state of Maryland or to Prince George's County, or there is something that we can do, at least we'll have something in place to do what we can. Because we know that, like Councilman Herring is saying, yes, most of the children probably have health care through some mechanism, some vehicle that gives them health insurance. But then there's going to be that one that may not have anything, and this just will be a catch-all to make sure that everybody is provided an opportunity to be vaccinated and to go to school. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Fareed.
Yes, thank you, Council President. I just wanted to speak on the conversation around the burden that's being placed on the city manager. I don't know where that's coming from, where that interpretation is coming from in the legislation. As far as administering the vaccinations, as we say in the resolution, that would be partnered with authorized professionals who would be doing that. So there would be no requirement on the city manager to do anything regarding, the people getting vaccinated. I'm not really sure where that commentary is coming from. The organization of the event itself would be an event just like any other event that we have. And the back to school event in particular has been an event that historically was not led by the city manager. So I wouldn't expect the city manager to have to lead that now. So, I'm not really sure what that commentary is about, but I think also what Councilwoman Jones just stated really sums up the point of the whole legislation. And I don't know. We've heard a lot of comments on this, so I was wondering if there was any more opposition, but if not, I think if we could, I don't know if I can make a motion for us to just move on to a vote. And if anyone is in disagreement with the resolution, they can just vote no.
Point of order, Mr. President.
Councilman Harry?
Yes. First of all, this is a council. And because a council member doesn't like the comments that are being said, we do not end debate because she doesn't like what's being said. That is not the way we do business. This is not a personal, that's what you do in high school when you're with a clique. This is a group, elected body of elected officials, and we're supposed to have open discussion, open debate so that the citizens can be fully aware of what's going on, and every council member should have their opinion heard. And as for the commentary that I made, it's because this legislation keeps on saying, it says throughout it, it's monitor the implementation of this resolution. Who's going to do that? Raise awareness about the importance of vaccinations and their benefits to the individual and the community. Who's going to do that? And this is all in the resolution. Collaborate with the schools and other education institutions to ensure that all children under 18 are up to date on their vaccinations. Who's going to do that? I'm just asking, all of these things, all these requirements are in this legislation, and I'm asking who's going to do that? You're saying the city manager doesn't have to do anything. Just to have an event, one event, we pull in an administration all the time, and we pull in a lot of staff to do it. And you're not just going to, somebody got to open up the gold room. Somebody got to monitor the gold room if you're going to have an event in there. It isn't just, okay, hey, we're going to have an event, you go ahead and use the gold room. Administration has to be involved in everything that goes on in this building. And we utilize staff over and over again to do it. So yes, this legislation is chock full of responsibilities for the city manager and the administration and the staff when it comes down to implementing this piece of legislation. And again, I don't understand why we are trying to get into something that we are in. And again, one thing I don't like is when a council member sits there and try to quiet my voice because they don't like what I'm saying. Everybody has a right to their opinion and everybody has a right to their comments. Thank you.
Yeah, so just a point of clarification of what I heard, and you guys can correct if I'm wrong. I think she was only saying if there were any new points, which is valid, Councilman Herring. I'm not saying, because you made some good points, so I'm not saying that. But her argument was that if there were no more new points, then we can vote. But
Mr. President, it doesn't matter whether our points are new, old, or said 20 times over. We have a right to our opinion. We have a right to our voice. because a person doesn't like, that's the problem I'm seeing with this council. Because it affects your delicate sensibilities, you don't want to hear it. But that's not the way government works. We are elected officials. We hear from citizens over and over again. When I was up here and y'all were out there in that audience, y'all called me everything but a child of God. You know, I didn't sit there and bellyache and cry and say, oh, I don't want to hear no more, let's end the debate. I took it and ran with it and just did what I did, because everybody has a right. One thing I will defend is everybody's right to have their voice heard. I'm not about cutting nobody off. You know, that's just my way. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Harry. I don't think I was born yet when that happened, but
Okay.
it was just a joke. I'm sorry. All right. With that being said, the final comment goes to Vice President Ferguson.
I guess my question would be the points that Councilman Herron made, collaborate with the schools, raise awareness, monitor. Who would be doing that? Would that be something the council would be doing, or?
We can ask Councilwoman Fareed.
Yes, I'm asking Councilwoman Fareed.
Councilwoman Fareed, did you hear the question?
I'm sorry, did you ask me something?
Yeah, a question was posed. Vice President Ferguson and Councilman Herring raised the question of, let's see, who is going to raise awareness about the importance of vaccination? Who is going to be monitoring the implementation of of this resolution and report back to the City of Glenarden? Who is going to collaborate with the schools and other educational institutions? So they want to know if the administration is not going to be involved with it, then who is?
Okay, so I didn't necessarily mean to indicate that the administration would have no involvement at all. What I thought I heard was around the vaccination clinic itself, and it being said that the administration would need to do HIPAA stuff and all of that. And I was saying that is not what would be expected of the city manager. What would be expected of the city manager would be anything that's standard and typical for their involvement with events, just like we have any events. The city manager has not led these events that, we have as a city, but we still, utilize the administration to open the doors, et cetera, and staff. So I think this question around who's going to do that type of stuff is not specific to the vaccination event. That would be a question that would be applicable for any events that we choose to do. As it relates to the collaboration with the different organizations, again, how I have typically done resolutions is when I'm involved with them, I'm very much hands-on. So as an example, with neighborhood design for 7th Street Park, I was the one who contacted them. I'm the one who coordinates the meetings that we have with them. So I would not have any problem with stepping in and doing this as well, in terms of reaching out to the school communities and working with them. And in terms of providing reports, it's just an update on how is this going. We said we were going to do this. Have we seen any movement? As an example, after the back to school vaccination clinic, a report out would be how many people were vaccinated, how many people participated, how many people were vaccinated that the city had to pay for, simple metrics around the activities that we're doing. In terms of collaboration with other organizations, as we heard, our District 24 representatives stand ready and willing and able to help us provide resources to the community. I have no problem being the connection point for that. So these questions that are being asked, I think, are being highlighted as though this is the first and only time that we would have some sort of activities where people would need to reach out and work with others and then report back. This is not unique, a unique example, and this wouldn't be the first time that is being done.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilwoman Fareed. All right. With that, not hearing any other comments or discussion, then we'll go to a vote. Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Fareed,
Yes.
Councilwoman Guillaume,
Yes.
Councilmember Hairston,
Abstain.
Yes.
Council Vice President Ferguson,
Yes.
Council President Curtis,
Yes.
vote carries.
All right, so this is added a wrinkle to our plan, but I'll put it that way. Okay. And yeah, I don't. It is at home. No, it's all right. I have 78% left. We'll try to do it that way. All right. I should have bought my charger. Next up, and I'm sorry for those online, we're just contemplating just how much battery I have in my phone for you guys to hear the meeting, but I think Councilman Hairston is online. I don't have my charger. Yeah, I don't need it yet. I think we're good. And so I think we're good for right now. We have 78% left in my phone, and we should be in good shape. All right, next up is Resolution R38-2023, a resolution to purchase Public Works pickup truck. I'll do that. The sponsor for this resolution is myself, Derek Curtis, Council President, co-sponsor at the request of the administration. The public hearing was on June 13th, and the regular session, the date of introduction was on June the 5th. And it's being voted on today, regular session June 20th. Whereas the city administration has determined that it is in the public's interest to authorize the Glenarden Public Works Department to purchase a new 2023 Ford F-350 to replace the irreparable 2005 Chevy Silverado, VIN number 1GCEK14V35Z170707, whereas the administration seeks the council's approval to authorize the purchase of the public works vehicle within the current budget underline item 8367-30-80-10, and whereas the city council has previously approved the allotted funds in the FY23 budget to purchase the 2023 Ford F-350, and whereas it's necessary to purchase the Ford F-350 from Apple Ford at a price of $50,260 as attached in Exhibit A, and whereas in accordance with the Charter Section 818C, the administration has found that Baltimore County contract number 004504 has conducted a similar competitive bid and procurement process to that of the city of Glenarden to authorize a purchase from Apple Ford for the purchase of vehicles, and now therefore be it resolved by the city of Glenarden, Maryland, sitting in regular session this 20th day of June 2023 as follows: that the purchase of a 2023 Ford F-350 from Apple Ford for a total amount of $50,260 per the quote attached in Exhibit A to this resolution be, and it is hereby approved. And 2, the payment for the vehicle shall be made in item 8367.30.80.10 support equipment vehicles under capital projects function within the fiscal budget. And number 3, this resolution shall take effect immediately upon passage. Is there a motion to bring this resolution to the floor for a vote?
So moved.
Moved by Jones. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Herring. Any discussion? Hear none. By unanimous consent, this resolution is approved. Thank you. Thank you. All right, next up is R-39-2023, a resolution to pave the parking lot at MLK Park. Madam Clerk.
Resolution 39-2023, the sponsor is Council President Curtis, at the request of administration, was heard at a public hearing on June 13th. Date of introduction was June 5th and being read again today. A resolution to approve a contract with NZI Construction for paving the parking lot at Martin Luther King MLK Park on Piedmont Avenue at the cost of $48,350. Whereas the current parking lot at Martin Luther King Park needs to be redone, including excavating, paving, parking space striping, and placement of wheel stops. And whereas the city has received a proposal from NZI Construction Corporation to undertake the repaving of the parking lot at MLK at a cost of $48,350, see attached. Whereas this work is authorized without a formal bid process pursuant to Section 818C, in lieu of a contract bid process required by this section and in place of Section 821A, B, and C of the city charter, whenever a federal, state, county, or local government or any agency thereof whose purchasing policies are comparable to those of the city of Glenarden has conducted a bid and awarded a contract, the city may purchase by contract the bid item at the bid price from a successful bidder, subject to approval of the mayor or city or council. Prior to the city's purchase of an item, service, or material from the successful bidder or of another jurisdiction, the city manager shall obtain a copy of the jurisdiction's purchasing policies. Whereas Prince George's County has conducted a competitive bidding process and awarded a contract to NZI Construction Corporation, PG County Contract 932-8, to perform services such as excavation and paving. Whereas Prince George's County's purchasing policies are comparable to those of the city, and whereas the council declares the provision of Section 818B of the city charter have been satisfied as to justify the waiver of the competitive bidding process required by Section 818A of the city charter. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Glenarden, Maryland, sitting in regular session on the 20th day of June 2023 as follows. 1, that a contract for repaving the parking lot at Martin Luther King Park is authorized by the estimated cost of $48,350 as proposed by NZI Corporation. 2, payment for the contract work shall be charged to the FY23 capital budget, with accounts to be charged by the city treasurer from the funds left over from FY23 capital expenditures. And 3, this resolution shall take effect immediately upon passage.
Is there a motion to bring this resolution to the floor for a vote?
So moved.
Moved by Councilwoman Jones. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Hairston. Any discussion or opposition?
Yes, Mr. President.
Councilman Harry.
So I just want to be clear. So we do have the funds for this. You actually know what the council is going to actually pour this money from.
Yes, the capital budget. Yes, we do have this.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Any opposition? Hearing none by unanimous consent, this resolution is adopted. All right, next up is R 40-2023, A resolution to support recreational activities in the city of Glenarden. All right, I'm up. This resolution was introduced on June, the sponsor of this resolution is Councilwoman Fareed, co-sponsored by Councilwoman Guillaume and Councilwoman Jones. It was introduced on June 5th. The public hearing was held on June 13th, and it's being voted on today, June 20th, in regular session. Whereas physical activity plays a vital role in promoting the overall well-being and development of children, and whereas community-based initiatives that foster social engagement and create positive spaces contribute to the holistic growth of children, and whereas support for organizations and groups dedicated to promoting physical activity, community involvement, and positive environments for children is essential for the long-term health and well-being. And whereas the City of Glenarden hereby supports and encourages the development of growth of groups that promote physical activity, community engagement, and positive spaces for children. And number 1, funding support shall come from the Community Outreach Budget line item 10.10.30.8647. A, allocate financial resources to support organizations and groups that focus on providing physical activity programs for children. Each fiscal year, beginning with fiscal year 2024, a minimum of $2,500 will be allocated each to the Glenarden Boys and Girls Club and the Glenarden Track Club. B, establish grants and funding opportunities specifically tailored to community-based initiatives that create positive spaces for children to thrive. Each fiscal year, beginning with fiscal year 2024, a minimum of $5,000 will be allocated towards a grant fund. Each grant fund allocation will have a minimum of $500 and a maximum of $2,500. Organizations may apply to receive grant money beginning January the 1st, and grant funds will be awarded on a rolling basis. Any organization, with the exception of those stated in Section 1A above, may apply for the grant. Further guidelines will be stipulated in the grant application. 2, collaboration and partnerships. Foster collaborations between schools, community centers, local businesses, and relevant stakeholders to develop and implement programs that encourage physical activity and community engagement among children. B, facilitate partnerships between organizations working in the fields of health, education, and recreation to create comprehensive and sustainable programs for children. 3, awareness and education. Promote awareness campaigns highlighting the importance of physical activity and community involvement in children's development. And B, support educational initiatives to aim to empower parents, educators, and community members with knowledge and tools to create positive environments that nurture children's well-being. Number 4, infrastructure development. Advocate for the development and maintenance of safe and accessible spaces for physical activities such as parks, playgrounds, sports facilities, and community centers. And B, collaborate with local authorities to ensure the incorporation of child-friendly design principles in urban planning and infrastructure development. Number 5, research and evaluation. Encourage research and evaluation studies to assess the effectiveness of programs promoting physical activity, community engagement, and positive spaces for children. And B, utilize evidence-based findings to continuously improve and refine programs and initiatives. Number 6, recognition and awards. recognize and celebrate the achievements of individuals, organizations, and groups that have made significant contributions to promoting physical activity, community involvement, and positive spaces for children. B, establish award or incentives to encourage ongoing commitment and innovation in this area. Now, be it resolved that the City of Glenarden urges other organizations, governmental bodies, and community leaders to support and implement similar initiatives to enhance the well-being and development of children through physical activity, community involvement, and positive spaces. And be it further resolved that the City of Glenarden will work collaboratively with relevant stakeholders to advocate for policies, secure funding, and provide resources to support aforementioned groups and initiatives. The City of Glenarden encourages all individuals and organizations to join in supporting this resolution and work collectively towards creating an environment where children can thrive through physical activity, community engagement, and positive spaces. Is there a motion to bring this resolution to the floor for a vote?
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Jones. Is there a second? I will second it. Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. President.
Councilman Harris.
Yeah, again, with this piece of legislation, again, I'm all about the city and the city dollars. Again, we're giving money to organizations, two organizations, one in particular, that really does not advertise anything in advertise in the city of Glenarden. Now, I know Boys and Girls Club constantly do. They put their signs up. They got their little mailbox up the stairs. They open up to the broad community. But the Glenarden Track Club does not. I've been on here 18 years, and I have not seen once where they've come to the city and said, "Can we put on our put on your social media or your cable, that we'll be accepting registrations and applications for students. For children in Glenarden to run track." So it's not like they're reaching out, but yet we're going to sit here and facilitate and give them $2,500 for what? And that's what I'm not understanding. Again, we're giving money out here and we're not getting any results. And I'm not seeing any results from that investment. I can see it with the Boys and Girls Club. They come in here, the kids come, they play, they get to participate. I don't see that with the Glenarden Track Club. Glenarden Track Club boasts that they have 300 members at $225 a piece. They're pulling in $67,000 off of registrations alone. And to factor in now, I found out that the AKAs are giving them $20,000. So you're looking at $87,000 that they're going to have to work with, plus whatever fundraising initiatives that they have, plus other donations that they're getting from other organizations. So I'm of the mindset I would rather give $5,000 to the Boys and Girls Club and let the Glenarden Track Club do what they normally do. They're making money hand over foot, in my estimate. And I mean, I think we really need to look at that, because if the AKAs are giving money to the Glenarden Track Club, then I think, those that's affiliated with the AKAs, they really need to look to see before they vote if there's an ethics issue involved in this. Not saying if it is or if it isn't, but I think you may want to be sure of that before you do. Again, I feel that, and then when we open it up to any organization, we raise taxes on the citizens of Glenarden to what? Give their money to organizations outside of Glenarden? Because this legislation is opening it up to anybody that want to come in here. There's nothing in here stipulating that nothing in this resolution that says that the money has to go toward Glenarden children. And that's what I have a problem with, because again, I reached out to the attorney, asked him about it. He's like, yeah, you can give it to a private group. And I do want to clear up one other thing. These organizations are not public groups. They are 501c3 nonprofit groups. They are private organizations. In order to be an organization, you have to pay a membership fee or a registration fee. So they are not public organizations. I don't know why that keeps on floating around out here, because there's a lot of organizations that are private nonprofits. And I know I'm familiar with one, and you have to be a woman and a relative of somebody from the American Revolution. So they're not open to the public. So again, 501c3s are private organizations. They are not public. Again, like I said, with this it's a situation where, again, we're taking city's tax dollars and giving it out to anybody out here who wants a grant. Again, it really amazes me that we are so quick to dole this money out, but yet we're not paving the streets in Ward 3. I don't know how many, but this will be the last time I speak on it, because obviously there's 5 people from Ward 3 on this council, and none of them have moved forward to try to get any money to do all the streets in Ward 3.
Yes.
Point of order, Mr. President.
Yes.
Thank you, because none. I was the one that asked to have that budget increase year after year after year. And I'm the one that asked to have that budget, have a couple of $1 million put in there for this year. So I'm just saying again, I don't see the point of this legislation. If you're going to help an organization, then you need to help an organization like the Boys and Girls Club, who need the funding, who need the financing. You know, again, I have not seen, and please don't even mention legacy organizations, because nobody can tell me yet what a legacy organization is. I don't care if you've been in the city for 50 years. When you move out and you don't come back to pull up those that you left, I have a problem with that, and that's the children in our community. So my thing is this: if you want the true legacy organization in Glenarden is the citizens in this community that pay taxes every day through their property taxes, that fund this city and fund our salaries and fund everything else that's going on, and that's the legacy. Not a track club, not a Boys and Girls Club. Give respect to those who really who made this community what it is, and that's the individuals sitting up here, who sat up here before us, who sat up here after us, who sacrificed, who did bake sales to get a school in the community. That's the legacy. So again, I'm not in support of this. I'm in support of give the Boys and Girls Club $5,000 and leaving the track club to their own device, because they're getting a $20,000 grant from the AKAs anyway. So they're flush with money. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Herring.
I do have a question. One other question. I do want to of the sponsors. Can they tell me when does registration start for the track club? And what does the registration cover?
Any other sponsors?
Oh, and one other thing. And how many children from Glenarden are actually on the Glenarden track club?
Yeah. So for the sponsors of the resolution, there were 3 questions, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Harris. One is how many children from Glenarden are on the track club? When is registration for the track club?
Correct.
And what does the registration include? This is for Councilwoman Fareed, Councilwoman Guillaume, or Councilwoman Jones.
I know that the registration for the track club starts March 31st. That's when they begin. But an expert is in the audience that lives in Glenarden. Coach Fields is here. Maybe he can answer some of your questions.
Point of order, Mr. President. I'm asking the sponsors of the legislation.
Okay. All right. So, like I said, the 31st is registration. As far as how many children from Glenarden, take a look at the city of Glenarden. Especially in Ward 1, we're mostly seniors in Ward 1. So how many children do you think people are having over there? Now, there's some families there with children. I'm not sure if they have wanted to join the track club or not. That's I would have to get that information from the track team itself. So in Ward 3, Ward 2, once again, there are a lot of seniors in our wards now. Glenarden is getting older. These people are not having children. So as far as how many children, that would have to be answered by I would have to get the information from the track club and provide that to you. The third question was what?
What does the registration fee cover?
Oh, yes.
What does the registration fee cover? That's also a question that I would have to answer. I know when my son ran for Glenarden track and he registered in March, it covered him, it paid for uniforms, it paid for the registration fees for the different organizations. When you go to different track meets, invitational meets, you have to pay fees to run. He paid for the Junior Olympics fee for him to run. And also, when my son was running for Glenarden track, when me and my husband went out there and saw the need, making sure that all the kids were, that all the kids who wanted to run were able to run and able to pay the registration fee. Some of us came out of our pockets, and they have a booster club that goes in their pockets and pulls out money. My husband bought 2 big coolers, made sure there was plenty of fruit, plenty of water for whoever, because there were some children out there from Glenarden and from other areas that their parents did not participate like that because of different situations. And we had no problem taking care of those children and making sure that their needs were met. So all this about them having this elaborate amount of money, the track club having this elaborate amount of money. This year they're taking the kids to Canada. The Junior Olympics, I think, is in either the Junior Olympics is in Canada or in North Carolina, and they're also going to North Carolina for a semi-final meet. It takes a lot. When the track club goes traveling, they take those kids to Embassy Suites so that they can get a full breakfast in the morning, and we as parents and the other track coaches don't have to worry about making sure the kids have eaten. We make sure that they get up in the morning and go downstairs to eat. Embassy Suites is not cheap, but it's a nice place to take all of the kids. How they travel. When I first was on the track team, we went to California and stayed in a sweet hotel. We had to pay for all that. Airlines to make sure that they were there. Buses to make sure they had ground transportation. It's just a whole lot more than what, they just go to different schools in the county. No, they go to different places like West Virginia. There were other places that we went out of state to run in different meets and compete and take the children so that they would be exposed to what university life was like also. Because we went to different college campuses in Florida and different places for them to compete, and they would see those things. So if you have children and you know anything about children, you know that children need exposure. If you give them exposure and let them know, eventually you're going to have to grow up, you're going to have to do certain things. So you expose them to different things so that they can get an idea of what it is they'd like to do or be when they grow up. So this is what the Glenarden track team does for those children. And it's just like with the expungement fair. We service everybody in the community, everybody in the county, everybody in the state, if they want to come and get an expungement. So how can you just sexualize and say everybody on the Glenarden track team or everybody on the Boys and Girls Club is going to be from Glenarden? That's not true anymore. The Boys and Girls Club, they have combined with different Boys and Girls Club because the number of children are not there, not in the communities anymore. People are having 1 and 2 children, where my father had 7. Like I said, in the community when I grew up in Glenarden, there were 5 children, an average of 5 children in each household. There was children all over the place. So, I mean, you just can't put them in a box and say all the children are going to come from Glenarden, because that's not true anymore. The Glenarden Boys and Girls Club, like I said, they have partnered with Ardmore. Now it's Glenarden Ardmore, and they have once again partnered with Springdale because there's not enough children over there to suffice for to build up the club. You want to have something for the children to do, and you want to build up things. Maybe Baby K, if somebody had got a hold of him, he might not be in the situation that he's in right now. So the opportunity needs to be there, and we need to support, especially the Glenarden Track and the Boys and Girls Club, because like I said, I came up through the Boys and Girls Club. My son came up through the track team. I didn't run track when I was with Mr. Colbert, when Mr. Colbert was coming along, because I didn't like track anymore. I was doing something else. But there's some people that did. Elgin Gordon, who is former Councilwoman Carolyn Smallwood's son, he came up through the Glenarden Track Club with Mr. Colbert, did very well, and is still doing very well, and is a coach for Glenarden Track. And he lives in Glenarden. So their coaches are still here in Glenarden. Henry McCallum, he's still here in Glenarden. I don't see the issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Jones. Vice President Ferguson.
My question is line 43, where it's speaking about any organization can get grants. Can anyone of you expound on that? So, I mean, is it like anywhere in the metropolitan area, in the county? It's line 43, I think. Or can that be removed?
Councilwoman Fareed.
Thank you.
Yes. Sorry, it took me a minute to come off mute. So I didn't specify that the organization has to be based in the city of Glenarden because the city of Glenarden is not a large city. And there may be organizations in the surrounding communities that have recreational activities that they can make available to our children as well. So that's why I didn't, specify a geographical location. And also, I didn't want to narrow it. And I wanted us to have opportunity to have innovation, right? In this, we're in a new type of world where there are things that are offered in hybrid format. So that would mean some virtual activities. So there could be organizations that are in other states even that are offering, maybe online boot camps for children that they could participate in. I didn't want to limit the opportunities of what there is. The point is that the target audience for these activities need to be children that live in the city of Glenarden, not exclusively, right? Again, because our city is not that large. So to try and say that an organization has to be based in the city as well as only service children in the city, that would be a very narrow pool and would not likely result in a big turnout. But there again are other organizations. There's a soccer organization that's right down Ardwick-Ardmore. I forgot what it's called, Total Soccer. Where they might be interested in offering, classes for children and directing their application and their marketing efforts towards the city of Glenarden. So that's why it's broad in that sense.
Thank you, Councilwoman Fareed. Was that all, Vice President Ferguson?
Yeah.
Mr. President.
What?
Mr. President.
Councilman Harry.
So one thing I would have liked you to ask me is if my questions had been answered. Now, two of them had, but again, the one question about how many children from Glenarden is nobody knows. So how do we know this money is going to fund the children in Glenarden? And as Ms. Jones says, if we don't have children in Glenarden, which she so eloquently said, there's no children in Ward 1, there's an old population. There's no children in Ward 2, it's an old population. Why do they need a grant if it's not going to benefit the children of Glenarden? And actually, when I talked to the attorney about it, he said the funds need to support the children in Glenarden. So if this legislation is being brought up, then I think that the grant need to be specifically designated for registration fees to the Glenarden track team for children, only for the children who register in the city of Glenarden, so that we know that the children in Glenarden are being that they have the same, abilities and same opportunities as other children outside of Glenarden where it's promoted. It's not promoted in the city. We'll have to promote it ourselves because the Glenarden Track Club is not coming in the city to promote. So if we're going to do it, I think this legislation, and that goes the same for the Boys and Girls Club, if it's for registration fees and let it pay the $225 registration, that's about 10 students that can get onto the Glenarden Track Club with the city's dollars. And I think that we need to move in that direction and make sure that it is going to what is being required. I've never seen a grant being given without any stipulations, just open-ended. Most organizations most people don't give money to to organizations that have the money going to a general fund, because that's just a slush fund. They can spend it on whatever they want to spend it on. So I'm asking again that this legislation be amended to say that the money will be used only for children in the city of Glenarden. If we're serious about doing for the children in the city of Glenarden, because that's where the money should be going.
So, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Was that it?
That's it.
So, Ms. Heron, I think you make a good point. I do have a question for you, because someone raised this point as well. What is the difference between it stipulating that it has to be a child from the city of Glenarden and the expungement fare paying for others to have their... it's a valid question.
I'm going to answer it for you.
Let me finish. Because I can't see the difference, and it's not to pick, but I really want to understand the difference, because the expungement fare goes well every year, and it's a good cause, and we support that. So what is the difference between that and this?
The difference is that we partner with Prince George's County, which cannot restrict their services to only citizens in Glenarden. They provide us with lawyers that if we had to pay for them, we wouldn't be able to afford the expungement period. They provide lawyers, they provide free lawyers at that to anybody that wants to come in and get their record expunged. And then we can only expunge the records, and even that's a limit. We can only expunge the records of people in Prince George's County. At that, we can't expunge people outside the county in any other county. They can get the petition done, but we can't pay for it, and they can't expunge it throughout court system. Throughout system. So that's what the difference is. Again, we partner with the state office of the state's attorney, which is opened up to the full county. So we can't limit it based on, unless we want to, we can restrict it to Glenarden and pay for everything, attorneys included, but we probably won't do much with that. But that's the difference. We partner with the county, and they have requirements that we got to service everybody in the county. That's the difference.
Right.
This money is our money, and we can stipulate that it be used for Glenarden children, because that's what the whole resolution says, is to support the children. You know, and I'm assuming you're trying to support the children in Glenarden, because if you're supporting other children outside of Glenarden, why did we just raise the citizens' taxes to send the money out the community to support those outside of our community? I'm not understanding that.
That's an unfair statement.
I'm not understanding it. I mean, we just raised taxes and we're going to send the money out. So to support other people's children, and we're saying our children need help, our children need assistance.
Okay.
And again, like I said, I still think that we should give it to the Boys and Girls Club, $5,000, and let them and stipulate that too for what it need to be used for. But if you're going to give them $2,500, I still think it should be used for registration fees. That'll cover 10 kids.
Thank you, Councilman Harry.
Thank you.
Did your question get answered? Are we good? Are there any other comments? Let's see. Councilwoman Fareed, is your hand up to comment?
Yes, I just wanted to clarify that the money for the Glenarden Track Club and the money for the Glenarden Boys and Girls Club, that's not a grant. That is separate. The grant is in Clause B, that it talks about that's an additional amount of money, an additional $5,000 to be set aside. And those grants can range in value from $500 to $2,500. So if we were to award $500, we could do one organization 500, another organization 2,500, and another organization 1,000. It's that range. So we could work with multiple organizations in that grant program. And also what it says in the resolution is that the grant application will have the stipulations. So we can structure that grant application if we want it to be restrictive to only be whatever we want it to be. If we want it to be that we will only pay for the registration fees for children in Glenarden, or if we want to say, we'll give the money to them to use for uniforms for the whole team, regardless of where the children are from, all of those will be stipulations in the grant application itself.
Thank you. And the grant application has not been prepared yet?
So I did prepare a draft of one, but obviously without the resolution being passed and knowing that we have one, we don't have that. It's not available yet, but I can certainly send that around what we have drafted. And in that draft, I can tell you it does say that the marketing needs to be directed towards City of Glenarden residents, again, not exclusively to City of Glenarden residents, but that they need to use our avenues for advertising. So be that our website, our newsletter, our marquee, so that our citizens can have greater visibility into what is going on and what is being offered to them. What's been drafted also stipulates that the organization has to target specifically Glenarden residents. So it needs, as an example, it shouldn't just be, hey, kids, come out and try out. It should be, hey, children in the city of Glenarden, come out and, try out for this thing, whatever it is. So we are in the grant application making it very targeted and specific. Again, location of the organization is not specific to Glenarden. It's not exclusive to Glenarden, but it's targeting students, youth in the city of Glenarden.
Mr. President.
Okay. Thank you, Councilwoman Fareed. Councilman Harry?
Yes, because I'm thoroughly confused now. So you're doing two things with this resolution. You're trying to set up a grant program, and you're trying to give away $5,000, $2,500 to the Boys and Girls Club, $2,500 to the track club. This should really be two separate pieces of legislation. I'm not sure why it's all rolled up into one. I think this is a way to go around the back door to get some things that you want, because basically in one section you're saying we're going to give these two organizations $2,500. Then the next one you're saying, well, they can get, we're going to want to do this grant program, but those two organizations can't participate. So it's just like, it's confusing. I think it should have been two separate pieces of legislation to show exactly you're establishing a program, but yet you also want to sponsor two grants for these two organizations. It should have been two separate resolutions. I mean, these resolutions are actually all really long. And again, my question comes back to who's going to do all of this? Who's going to do all the research and evaluation, encourage study and assess the effectiveness of programs? I mean, who's going to do all of that? Administration again? Because it's another program that administration is going to have to handle. I mean, I can see again, we're putting stuff on administration again that we say is not a lot, but until you got to do it and you work a full-time job, and you know, anybody know the city manager, the treasurer, and the department heads work 10, 12 hours a day sometimes, depending on the season. So again, we got a resolution with all of these requirements, and I'm trying to figure out who's going to do them all. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? The treasurer noted that there was one mistake, that for in line, well, I'll just read line 31 and 32. Fund support shall come from community outreach budget line item. It should be corrected to read 10.30.10.8647. Is that correct, treasurer? All right. That is a correction.
Mr. President, what is that? What department is that?
That is the legislative.
Excuse me? Legislative.
Yes.
So they're taking $5,000 out of legislation that we use for mailing out flyers and everything else. Interesting.
Is that in the budget for 2024?
No.
For 2024.
It is for 2024.
No, they're saying this is for 2023, ain't you think?
No, 2023 is over. I mean, we have like 2 weeks left.
The second line says 2024. They need to clear that up in that first one.
Second line says 2024. Yeah,
It says each year beginning in 2024, but you're saying you want to give them this money now?
No, in 2024, so it'll be 1 week. July. July's the start of the new
Fiscal year.
New fiscal year.
Fiscal year for 2024 starts July 1.
Yeah. And for July 1, FY24, it is in the proposed budget.
It's in the proposed budget as it stands now.
All right. Any other discussion before we move on for a vote? Hearing none. Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Fareed,
Yes.
Councilwoman Guillaume,
Yes.
Councilman Hairston,
Yes.
Councilman Herring,
Abstain.
Councilwoman Jones,
Yes.
Council Vice President Ferguson,
Yes.
Council President Curtis,
Yes.
vote carries.
I'm sorry. All right. Madam Clerk, you're up. Resolution. Sorry, let me write the notes. Resolution R41, a resolution to approve the Community Resilience Fund guidelines.
Resolution 41-2023, the sponsor is Kathleen Guillaume, Councilwoman. Co-sponsors are Vice President Ferguson and Councilwoman Fareed. The public hearing was held on June 13th. The introduction was June 5th. And of course, we're in regular session today. A resolution to approve Community Resilience Funds guidelines. Whereas the city's administration has reviewed the guidelines for the Community Resilience Fund program drafted and reviewed by the ARPA project manager / consultant, and whereas the guidelines have been deemed sufficient by the city council during their review at the June 5th work session, and whereas the city council approved the attached guidelines hereto Exhibit A for this funding program, and now, therefore, be it resolved by the City Council of Glenarden, Maryland, sitting in regular session on the 20th day of June, 2023 as follows. 1, the guidelines for the Community Resilience Fund be approved in its present form, and 2, this resolution shall be effective immediately upon passage.
All right. Is there a motion to bring this to the floor for a vote?
So moved.
Moved by Councilwoman Jones. Is there a second? Second by Vice President Ferguson. Any discussion or opposition?
Yes.
Councilman Harry?
Mr. President.
Councilman Harry?
Just clarification on few things. So what are the actual awards going to be? Because it says up to $5,000. So what's going to be the determining factor on how much a person is going to get? If they get up to, I mean, I know nobody's going to come in here and say, I only need $1,000. So what is the determining factors that's going to, put them at $5,000 or require them to get less than $5,000?
Councilwoman Guillaume, Ferguson, or Fareed? Councilwoman Guillaume?
Sure, there are several factors. One would be, several. One is availability, so depending on first come, first serve. Second, and this is in no particular order, second would be if they received funding in the past from whether it was the city of Glenarden, if it was the state, COVID, ARPA dollars. Third would also be how hard of a hardship did they experience. So that's why we look at the 3 years of tax and to see what the hardship would basically equate to. Mr. Himmler is not on the call right now, but he's also is the one that has experience in this, and we did ask some of those questions.
So can those be put in the somewhere in here in this document, in these guidelines, that criteria?
Yeah. It's in the application.
In the back.
I think it should be also in the instructions and the instructions also. Because some people may not be eligible and there's no need in filling out the paperwork if they don't meet those 3 criteria. Or if they've already gotten a grant and got $5,000 already, so they've reached the threshold that we're going to. So I'm assuming if they've already gotten something, you're going to deduct from that original amount what they've already gotten.
Priority will be given. So if we have several applications that come in, for example, let's say we have 10 applications, it's the same amount of hardship, but one in particular had already gotten funding from the caring fund and the COVID city fund, while the others did not, then priority would be given to the others.
Okay, so it's priority versus they'll get it, but they'll get it less than what they've already gotten.
Correct. So, and that's on the very last page. On page 405 in bold. It also says that it does not guarantee. That's just how living in a capitalistic society works, where you apply, but it doesn't mean that you're going to automatically get it.
Yeah, I think, yeah. And who's going to review all of this? Is the firm going to review all of these applications?
Correct.
And so this is for, I'm looking at this again because I'm okay. And they're going to verify everything, whether they have 30 or fewer employees.
Correct.
You know, annual revenues and all of that.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Now, one question while we're that. So is this, no, this isn't the one, it's the other one. You got two other ones, right? Hardship and intergeneration. Okay, I'm good. I'm good on that.
All right. Madam Clerk, I'm sorry, any other discussion? Or is there any opposition?
I'm asking for a voice vote.
Okay. Madam Clerk?
Councilwoman Fareed?
Yeah.
Councilwoman Guillaume?
Yes.
Councilman Harrison?
Yes.
Councilman Herring?
Yes.
Councilwoman Jones?
Yes.
Council Vice President Ferguson?
Yes.
And Council President Curtis.
Yes.
Vote carries.
Whew, is it my turn?
Yes, sir.
All right. I believe that was unanimous, so let me write that down. All right. Next up is R 42-2023. A resolution to approve the Good Samaritan Hardship Fund guidelines. Sponsors are Councilwoman Guillaume, Councilwoman Jones, Councilwoman Ferguson, Vice President Ferguson, and Councilwoman Fareed. It was introduced on June the 5th, 2023. The public hearing was held on June 13th, 2023, and it's being voted on today in the regular session, June 20th. Whereas the city administration has reviewed and consulted guidelines for the Good Samaritan Hardship Fund program with the ARPA Fund project manager, and whereas the guidelines have been deemed sufficient by the City Council during a review for accuracy and efficiency at the June 5th work session, and whereas the city's administration is requesting that the City Council approve and adopt the attached guidelines hereto as Exhibit A to set funding restrictions and begin the program in earnest, and now, therefore be it resolved by the City Council of Glenarden, Maryland, sitting in regular session this 20th day of June 2023 as follows. 1, the guidelines for the Good Samaritan Hardship Fund be approved in its present form. And number 2, this resolution shall take effect immediately upon passage. Is there a motion to bring this to the floor for a vote?
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Jones. Is there a second? I will second it. Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. President.
Councilman Herring.
I guess it's just my night tonight. A question on this one. Okay, I'm looking at this, and so it's for eligible households. So let's say a person. So it's actually people who are actually residing in the house. Is that what we're saying? Household, everybody that's residing in the house.
Correct.
Correct.
And so they can get up to $5,000 to do with it what they please. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And I guess this would go in line with the other one that we have where, you know, they can apply to get money to fix their home out also. And I'll bring it up in that one when we go to that one too, but I just think it should be either or. They can apply for this one or they can apply for the other one. $5,000 can fix up a lot in your house. I think if you apply for this grant to get $5,000 to spend at will, That, I think that's a slippery slope, because you can spend $5,000 on a whole lot of things that may not have nothing to do with your home environment or your environment at all, that may not be good for your environment. But I also believe that if you're gonna apply for this grant and get $5,000, that you need to have your house fixed up, then you need to get your house fixed up. Or if you're gonna apply for it and you need to get your bills caught up, then you gotta get your bills caught up. Because again, if they apply for this $5,000, if they're renting a house, is there any stipulations to that, for that?
So you say the homeowner
Is renting the house out.
So-
Yeah, they don't live in Glenarden.
So if the person does not live there, so for example, if you have a home in the city that you're renting out rooms, each of those, you're renting out 3 that household, you do not apply, not get that money. However, the person who resides, who can show that they live there, that they're renting a room in there, they can apply, but they can only apply for the entire household or for themselves. So what that means is, for us, the city of Glenarden, we should only get 1 application for each address. It can't be 3 people applying from one home trying to get money. It's literally 1 per household.
So if I'm renting a house out and I tell my renters, I need you to apply for that grant and give me that $5,000.
Well, it won't be given to them, meaning the landlord.
No, it'll be given
money
to
will be
the
given
people.
to the person who's occupying the household.
Right, and as a landlord, I can say, I want you to apply for that grant and I want you to give me that money when you
Well,
get
that's
it.
illegal. I mean, you're forcing someone to say, give me the money that
I'm just-
is not part of your rental contract.
I'm
like
just
that.
saying, you know.
So I hear what you're saying, I just don't see that legally being something that can be.
Well, I'm not saying it's legal. You know, a lot of people do a lot of things that's not legal.
Yeah,
I'm
but
just saying that could be there in that way where they could force, and you know, depending on who the renters are, they're not going to complain. You know what I'm
Right.
talking about, you know.
Well, this is being recorded, and it is illegal to do that. So if you are a landlord thinking that you can do that, it is illegal. And I hear you. I hear you, Councilman Herring. I don't want to say that I don't hear you. I hear you. I also want to go to the point that you made about the 5,000, you know, if it's a family of 4, again, it's not one person getting $5,000. If it's a household of 4, you get the max $1,250 per individual. I happen to have faith that the same way you stated, Councilman Herring, that people can do things with that $5,000 that's not an intended use. I happen to have faith that there are people that would use the $5,000 to help themselves. That's just me, especially knowing that they are of limited means.
I understand that, and I agree. You got some in both barrels, but our whole goal is to make sure that it goes where it's needed and it is not abused.
Correct.
And that's what I'm looking at, and I'm thinking, you know, some wording need to be in here that if it's found out that the funding was abused, that legal action will be taken in some way. I think that needs to be here, because again, we're saying we're giving you $5,000 and they go out here and buy a couple of hookers, some liquor,
No, I thought you
and
said
something
something
else. You know, then I mean,
I thought you said something else.
you know, I mean, so what then? Then they go like, oh, I ain't paying my light bill.
No, he said hookers. No,
I said hookers.
Oh, he said that.
You heard exactly what
He said dinner at Hook and Reel. That's what he said.
I'm just saying, you know, then they come back and say they didn't spend it on, you know, their lights are sell out. I'm just saying, we just want to ensure that it's being used for what it needs to be used for.
Yeah,
You know,
but I hear you, and I think that's where we both have to see both sides of the coin, because when Trump gave money as per stimulus, there was no attachment. It was more based on economic guidelines. There was no attachment to when those who got checks in the mail, there was no, if you use this for something, you have to return it back. When Biden came and similarly gave a stimulus, there was no attachment attached to that. And so for this threshold is even more stringent, where we are making it, for low income individuals, low to moderate income, if you ask me, for our citizens. So I don't see why it would be okay for the federal government to give us the majority of us funding, and there was no attachment to it, but we give people who are already struggling, some new form of attachments. That's just me, but I respect your opinion.
And it's not saying, I'm not giving them restrictions. I'm just saying I think it's something should be stipulated in this document that legal action will be taken if the money is basically misused in a way, or like the scenario I gave. If we find out that a renter is actually asking somebody to get this, apply on their behalf to get their money, because the government did say landlords could not apply for certain ARPA funds. Because they were landlords and they weren't qualified to do that, So there were some stipulations put on the use. As a matter of fact, there were a lot of stipulations put on ARPA funds before, they relaxed those rules. Things that you couldn't and could not do with that money. So, it isn't unreal for stipulations to be put on money and what they can and cannot be used for. Because again, we had that money and we were trying to, a lot of the uses we couldn't even meet until they relaxed the rules and said you can use it as general fund.
Right, the final
income.
rule. And again, that's about the landlord, that's housing, right? Whereas this one, it's more so for hardship. It's not landlords or, tenants or whatever. It's if you live in the city of Glenarden, if this is your income or you fall within that threshold and you have, your household falls within that threshold, we are here to assist you.
Yeah, I still think it should be one or the other, either this one or the other one. So that's just my personal feeling. So, yeah. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Any other comments from the council? All right. Hearing none, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Fareed?
Yes.
Councilwoman Hill?
Yes.
Councilman Hairston?
Yes.
Councilman Herring?
Yes.
Councilwoman Jones?
Yes.
Council Vice President Ferguson?
Yes.
Council President Curtis?
Yes.
Vote carries.
All right. Next up is R43 2023, a resolution to approve the Glenarden Housing Authority grant guidelines. Am I up, Council Clerk?
No, I think this one's fine.
I'm sorry?
I think this is me.
Okay.
R42-2023. Sponsors, Councilwoman Guillaume. Co-sponsors, Councilwoman Jones, Vice President Ferguson, and Councilwoman Fareed. Was heard at the public hearing on the 13th. Date of introduction was June 5th, and of course we're sitting in regular session today. Resolution to approve Good Samaritan Hardship Fund guidelines.
No, we didn't
did that one? I'm sorry. All right, sorry about that. Resolution 43. The sponsor is Councilman Herring, Councilman Hairston, and Councilwoman Guillaume. Was heard in public hearing on the 13th of June. Was introduced on June 5th, and of course we're in regular session today. A resolution to approve Glenarden, Housing Authority Fund guidelines. Whereas the city's administration has reviewed and consulted guidelines for the Glenarden Housing Authority program with the ARPA Fund project manager, and whereas the guidelines have been deemed sufficient by the City Council during review for accuracy and efficiency at the June 5th work session, and whereas the city's administration is requesting that the City Council approve and adopt the attached guidelines hereto as Exhibit A to set funding restrictions and to begin the program in earnest. And now, therefore, be it resolved by the City Council of Glenarden, Maryland, sitting in regular session on the 20th day of June, 2023 as follows. 1, that the guidelines for the Glenarden Housing Authority Fund be approved in its present form. And 2, this resolution shall take effect immediately upon passage.
Is there a motion to bring this resolution to the floor for a vote?
So moved.
Moved by Vice President Ferguson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Jones. Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. President.
Yeah, Councilman Herring, you have discussion on your own resolution?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
It was, I thought I had said, I was wondering, who's gonna verify that the work has been done? And I didn't see that in this document. Because I mean, they're going to submit invoices and all of that to the authority's going to submit the invoice. So is the authorities going to verify that the work is being done? The work has been done based on the invoices.
Councilman Jones?
I think they would do it by the invoices, and I also would give the commission, since we appoint a commission to oversee the Glenarden Housing Authority, the commissioner, the head commissioner, Lonnie Scales, and his team could also oversee that everything has been done.
Well, I mean, it says it in here that the authority shall, so, yeah, that's the housing authority shall, but I just wanted to make sure that, that they certify all the work before they submit their invoices. And
Okay, for clarification, when you say the authority, to me, you're speaking of the director and the property manager.
No, it's
and possibly the maintenance person. So that's why I was saying explicitly it should be the commission, the head commissioner and his team should also be involved in that to ensure that the work is been done and done within the laws of the state and what we've set down.
Well, the official body that runs the organization is the Glenarden Housing Authority, which is the title we have here. That's why they're saying the authority, to just then put the Glenarden Housing Authority. So that's the authority that they're referring to in here. It's the Glenarden Housing Authority, which is what we voted into office.
Thank you for the clarity.
Yeah. So, I mean, I just wanted to be sure that everything is certified, that all work is certified to be done and complete in respect to what was purchased, and that they are held responsible for making sure that that's done. I mean, I'm sure they will, but I just wanted to make sure this is provide documentation.
Mr. President.
Okay, here it is right here. I see it right here. The authority should also provide supporting documentation, which shall be in the form of receipts, invoices, contracts, or other similar documentation, evidencing the expenditures made using grant funds. So, okay, I'm good with that.
Okay.
All right.
Yay. This is gonna pass.
Any other comments or discussion?
Councilman Herring, I unmuted myself just to tell you where it was, but I did the whole proper protocol thing. It said Council President, and then you said, I found it, so.
Oh, okay.
All right, is there any further discussion or opposition?
I'd like to ask for a voice vote.
Madam Clerk?
Councilwoman Fareed? Councilwoman Guillaume?
Yes.
Councilman Hairston?
Yes.
Councilman Herring?
Yes.
Councilwoman Jones?
Yes.
Council Vice President Ferguson?
Yes.
Council President Curtis?
Yes.
Vote carries 7-0.
All right. Thank you. Consistency, Councilman Herring, that's what I like.
I try to be.
Next up is, 7-7. Yeah. Next up is Resolution R44, 2023, a resolution to approve Homeowners Association grant guidelines. The sponsor is Councilman Herring, co-sponsored Councilman Hairston. It was introduced on June the 5th. 2023. The public hearing was held on June 13th, 2023, and is being voted on tonight's regular session on June 20th, 2023. Whereas the city administration has reviewed and consulted guidelines for the Homeowners Association program with the ARPA Fund Project Manager, and whereas the guidelines have been deemed sufficient by the City Council during a review for accuracy and efficiency at the June 5th work session, and whereas the city administration is requesting that the City Council approve and adopt the attached guidelines hereto as Exhibit A to set funding restrictions and begin the program in earnest. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the City Council of Glenarden, Maryland, sitting in regular session this 20th day of June 2023 as follows: that the guidelines for the Homeowner Association program be approved in its present form, and this resolution shall take effect immediately upon passage. Is there a motion to bring this resolution to the floor for a vote?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there a discussion?
Yes, Mr.
Councilman Harry.
Trying to wear us out.
I see in here where it says that, the HOA will provide final closeout of the project to the city manager. But at that point, do the city manager, is the city manager or her designee going to go and look at the project to see that it was basically done? To confirm the work was done, which is just a site visit.
City manager?
That's okay. Just want to make sure that that's done, just to make sure a site visit is done.
Okay.
Okay, all right.
Any other comments, questions? Any opposition to Resolution R-44?
I'd like to ask for a voice vote.
Voice vote. All right.
Councilwoman Fareed,
Yes.
Councilwoman Guillaume,
Yes.
Councilman Hairston,
Yes.
Councilman Herring,
Yes.
Councilwoman Jones,
Yes.
excuse me, Council Vice President Ferguson,
Yes.
Council President Curtis.
Yes.
Vote carries 7-0.
All right. Next up is Resolution R-45-2023, a resolution to approve the Intergenerational Poverty Relief Fund guidelines. Madam Clerk.
Resolution 45-2023. The sponsor is Councilwoman Guillaume. Co-sponsors are President Curtis, Vice President Ferguson, and Councilwoman Fareed. The public hearing was held on June 13th. The date of introduction was June 5th, and we're voting on it today, June 20th. A resolution to approve Intergenerational Poverty Relief Fund guidelines. Whereas the city's administration has reviewed and consulted guidelines for the Intergenerational Poverty Relief Fund with the ARPA Fund Project Manager, and whereas the guidelines have been deemed sufficient by the City Council during a review for accuracy and efficiency at the June 5th work session, and whereas the city's administration is requesting that the City Council approve and adopt the attached guidelines hereto as Exhibit A to set funding restrictions and begin the program in earnest. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the City Council of Glenarden, Maryland, sitting in regular session this 20th day of June 2023 as follows. 1, that the guidelines for the Intergenerational Poverty Relief Fund be approved in its present form, and 2, this resolution shall take effect immediately upon passage.
Thank you. Is there a motion to bring this resolution to the floor for a vote?
So moved.
Moved by Councilwoman Jones. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Hairston. Any discussion?
Yes,
Councilman Harry?
So I'm just start talking. I do see one thing that we need to put on here, like on page 2 of 6, at the very bottom, the second paragraph from the bottom, it says all work that requires a building permit from Prince George's County. That should actually read all work that requires a building permit from Prince George's County and the city of Glenarden. Because the city, before they do the work, the city of Glenarden have to get permits too. I don't want them to think because they got a county permit, they can move forward without getting a permit from the city.
Good
So that
catch.
needs to be added in there.
Why was that? Oh, those.
Page 2 of 6.
Okay, we got it.
Also, so we're gonna make payments directly to the contractor. Okay, yeah, the householder and the city staff must attest to the satisfactory completion of the project. Okay, I just wanna make sure that was in there. All right, I'm good with that.
Any other discussion?
Council President.
Councilwoman Guillaume?
No discussion. I just want to note that for the council clerk, that we are choosing to amend, add the verbiage that Councilman Herring stated, which is on page 2 of 6. The paragraph that starts with all work that requires a building permit. And Councilman Herring, I'm not picking on you, but since you're next to the council clerk, can you just show her just in case? You got it?
What's that?
Okay.
Oh, what'd you say?
Nothing. I was trying to distract you so you don't find anything else.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Is one other, Mr. President, one other thing, jeez, what was it? One of the sponsors, if they can answer the question. So can renters get this also to fix up the house? Is that excluded in here?
Absolutely not. It says it in here.
Where is it?
It says under page 1 of 6, household eligibility, you have to be a homeowner. And not just a homeowner, but a homeowner that occupies the.
Okay, you may want to, yeah, it says currently occupy the home for which you are applying.
Yeah. Primary residence.
Where does it say?
Well, that's the whole point.
We can put it in
That's the
there.
whole point. The whole point is there are a lot of that's why we wrote, like, you have to be a homeowner that's currently occupying the home for which you are applying.
Well, I think you may want to put in here that it has to be your principal residence, because that actually can be pulled up online on the SDAT database for the state of Maryland. And in order to have that designation, you got to attest that you reside in the house. I was thinking you may want to put that in there, because usually most people who rent, usually that's not their primary residence. It's usually outside somewhere else. I think you may want to put that in there, so at least we can have another check to see if you actually are renting it.
So what would you say if you can, in the way you just stated it, Councilman Harry, in layman's terms?
If it is your principal residence. It must be your principal
House
residence.
must be primary.
Yes.
1 second. Councilwoman, City Manager Tabata?
There's a bullet that says home must be your primary residence. Do you want to change it to principal
I think we
residence?
want to say principal, because I think that's what's in the SDAT database.
Yeah, that's how it's worded.
Yeah, I would use that, because then you can pull that up as, indicator to say whether they're qualified or not, because they're going to argue you down and say they live there.
So no 1, 2, 3, 4. Fifth bullet point, switch primary for principal. Any other discussion?
That's it for me.
Councilwoman Guillaume, you?
Yes, I'm fine with that. I agree with that change from
All right.
primary to principal.
Okay, Council Clerk?
Councilwoman Fareed.
Councilwoman Fareed?
Yes.
Councilwoman Guillaume.
Yes.
Councilman Hairston.
Yes.
Councilman Herring.
Yes.
Councilwoman Jones.
Yes.
Council Vice President Ferguson.
Yes.
And Council President Curtis.
Yes.
Vote carries 7-0.
Next up is R-46-2023. A resolution to approve a new contract with Charles J. Johnson Jr. and Associates for architecture and engineering services with the city of Glenarden. Thank you. This is at the request of Derek Curtis, Council President, co-sponsor. At the request of the administration, it was introduced on June the 5th, 2023. Public hearing was held on June 13th, 2023, and it's being voted on today in regular session on June 20th, 2023. Whereas the FY23 and proposed FY24 budget includes funding for engineering services and authorized by the City Council, and whereas the City of Glenarden, after city proposal solicitation process was completed, previously awarded a contract to Charles P. Johnson Jr. and Associates in 2019 for architectural engineering services, which contract expired in February of 2023. And whereas the city manager has recommended that Charles P. Johnson Jr. and Associates continue to provide architectural and engineering services on an as-needed basis, including interior and exterior design services, landscape architecture, and engineering services, including but not limited to civil, mechanical, electrical, geotechnical, survey work, project management, and construction management. And now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of Glenarden, Maryland, sitting in regular session this 20th day of June 2023, as follows. Number 1, that the City Council authorizes the execution of the attached agreement, Exhibit A, with Charles P. Johnson Jr. and Associates to be signed by the City Manager, subject to review by the City Attorney. Number 2, that the contract amount for these services shall be expended from the professional service line item within the administration's budget and shall be at the rate proposed in Exhibit A, calculated on a labor hour basis. And number 3, this resolution shall take effect immediately upon passage. Is there a motion to bring this resolution to the floor for a vote?
So moved.
It's moved by Councilwoman Jones. Is there a second?
Second.
The second by Councilman Herring. Any discussion? Councilman Herring.
Yes, Mr. President. It says in line 33, on the first page, to be signed by the city manager. That actually should say to be signed by the mayor or council president.
Okay. Mayor or council president.
Also, is there a fee list associated with this vendor? I mean, we used to have a fee list of the services based on, you know.
Yeah, it should have been attached.
Yeah, it's not attached here. And I
It
was,
was during the, sorry, it's not here.
so did the fees change or did they go up?
There were a couple that went, sorry. There were a couple that went up, and one of them was the technician, the CAD technician, and the clerical support went up by like $25.
Oh, okay. Could we get the fee schedule so we can have it
We'll
attached
attach
to
it.
this?
Sure.
Okay, all right, thank you. I'm done, thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion? Any opposition? Hearing none, by unanimous consent, this resolution is approved. Adopted. With the changes. Next up is R-47-2023, a resolution to authorize participation in Prince George's County Community Development Block Grant and Home Investment Partnership Program, and to authorize the city manager to sign a cooperative agreement. Madam Clerk.
Resolution 47-2023, introduced, oh gosh, that's a typo. The sponsor is President Curtis, co-sponsored at the request of the administration. The public hearing was June 13th. Date of introduction was June 5th, and the vote will take place today, June 20th. A resolution to authorize participation in Prince George's County's Community Development Block Grant and Home Investment Partnership Programs, and to authorize the city manager to sign a cooperation agreement. Whereas the city has previously elected to participate in Prince George's County's Community Development Block Grant, CDBG, and Home Investment Partnership programs, and to allow the county to include the city's population with that of the city's unincorporated areas for these purposes. And whereas by the letter dated May 5th, 2023, the county executive has requested that the city indicate whether it will elect to continue to participate in both programs with the county for fiscal years 2023 through 2026. And whereas the council has determined that it is in the public interest to continue to participate in the county's CDBG and where applicable home programs for fiscal years 2024, 2025, and 2026, which years begin July 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2026. And whereas in order to elect to continue to participate, the council must authorize execution of a cooperation agreement and certification of cooperation agreement, copies of which are attached, which will be signed by the city manager as the city's authorized representative. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the City Council of Glenarden, Maryland, sitting in regular session this 20th day of June, 2023, as follows. 1, that the city does hereby elect to participate with Prince George's County in seeking CDBG entitlement funds and, where applicable, for home funding from the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development for fiscal years 2024 through 2026. 2, that the city manager is hereby authorized to sign a cooperation agreement with Prince George's County, and the council clerk will sign the certification of cooperation agreement in substantially the form attached. And 3, the resolution shall take effect upon immediate adoption.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Is there a motion to bring this to the floor for a vote?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
One item, and this is actually an intergovernmental agreement. It should be signed by the mayor, council president, and not the city manager. I'm sorry.
All right.
That needs to be changed.
Any other discussion? Any opposition? Hearing none, by unanimous consent with the edits pointed out by City Manager Vada, this resolution is hereby adopted. All right, so 7-7. Next up is R-48-2023, resolution to approve the investment allocation to Maryland Local Government Investment Pool. Sponsor is Derek Curtis, Council President. Co-sponsor at the request of the administration. The date of introduction was June the 5th, 2023. The public hearing was held on June 13th, 2023. And it's being voted on in today's regular session being held on June 20th, 2023.
Recording in progress.
Whereas the Maryland Local Government Investment Pool. I'm sorry, one second. There's feedback. Mr. Gray, if you can fix that, please. I don't know if the people online is hearing the same thing. Looks like our systems are back up. One second. we almost done. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. That's fine. All right. Councilwoman Fareed, could you confirm that you can hear me?
It's low, but yes.
Okay. Mr. Gray, could you please turn the volume up so those online can hear? And for those online, our systems are back up, so thank you for sticking with it. All right. I'll start over. This is Resolution R48-2023. Sponsor is Derek Curtis, Council President. Co-sponsor, Active Request Administration. The date of introduction was on June the 5th, 2023. Public hearing was held on June 13th, 2023, and it's been voted on tonight at a regular session on June 20th, 2023. Whereas the Maryland Local Government Investment Pool was established under Title 17, Subtitle 3 of the Local Government Article of the Maryland Annotated Code, and whereas permissible investments of the pool are limited to and governed by the provisions of Sections 6-222 and 6-223 of the State Finance and Procurement Article of the Maryland Annotated Code, and whereas the investment objectives of the pool are: A, to preserve capital value of the dollars invested and maintain a stable net asset value per share of $1. B, to provide a readily available source of daily liquidity. And C, to provide a competitive rate of return measured against the 3-month U.S. Treasury bill yield and the S&P rated GIP index. And whereas the city desires to earn interest on its reserves and other funds like the American Rescue Plan funds received from the U.S. Treasury that are eligible under federal rules to earn interest until funds are expended. And whereas according to Section 801 and 802 of City Charter, the financial powers of the city, except as otherwise provided by this charter, shall be exercised by the treasurer with oversight by the city manager, and under the supervision of the city manager, the treasurer shall have the authority and shall be required to have custody of all public monies belonging to or under the control of the city, except funds in control of any set of trustees, and have custody of all bonds and notes of the city, and page 2 is not here. And thank you. And now, therefore, be it resolved by the City Council of Glenarden, Maryland, sitting in regular session this 20th day of 2023 as follows. 1, that the city treasurer is authorized to invest 70% of city funds in the Maryland Local Investment Pool. 2, that the city treasurer shall be responsible for maintaining liquidity in city accounts for monthly expenses that shall report the investment account monthly to the mayor and city council that will show withdrawal from the Maryland Local Investment Pool and city funds placed in the Maryland Local Government Investment Pool each month. 3, that the city council may appoint a city Council Finance Committee to review the monthly investment of city assets in addition to a monthly report of assets going to all council members. And number 4, this resolution shall take effect immediately upon adoption. Is there a motion to bring this to the floor for a vote?
So moved.
Moved by Councilwoman Jones. Is there a second? I will second it. Council President Curtis, any discussion? Councilman Herring.
Yes, Mr. President. Okay, first of all, I don't even have a page 2, so I don't even know what the heck we're reading. Again, I think it also need to be noted in this legislation that even though it gives the treasurer those powers, it still says that the final powers rest with the council under the general powers of the council. Finances to levy, assess, and collect property taxes, to expend municipal funds for any public purposes, and to have general management and control of the finances of the city. And I think that needs to also be put in there to so that everybody can be aware that this council, when it comes down to it, has a bottom line on where that money goes and how it's going to be invested. Again, I think it's also need to be cleared up that this is an actual investment fund. I think, someone mentioned last time, I'm not sure who it was, that, it isn't really an investment fund. It's just like a bank account, and it really isn't, because S&P actually monitors this for its investment, to rate it, actually. And just looking at the investment breakdown of the Maryland Local Government Investment Pool, is being invested in government agencies, treasury bonds, money market funds, commercial paper, and a couple of other things. So it is actually an investment account that can lose money when the market turns down. So it is any investment is always a risk. So it isn't just like we just put money in there and it's just going to sit there and we get interest on it. But you get interest based on the return. I just wanted to clear that up because it is actually an investment account, and I know it was mentioned last time. I also think that it's very important when information like this is brought to us, that is brought to us with everything that we need to know about this, because again, until I did a little bit more research on this, I wasn't really sure what it was actually doing, in the fund that it was actually being invested in. So it's a number of funds that it's being invested in, and I think that, administration, city manager, treasurer, make sure we get all the information on this, because this is a very, very big step that we're taking. We're putting a lot of money into this fund. I still think I think it's upside down. I think we should put less money in the fund and keep more money in our regular operating account so we can address some of these major capital projects out here. But I did want to clear that up, that it is an investment fund, almost like a money market. It does a little better than money markets though. So, that's a good thing. That's it. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilman Herring. I just want to clear one thing up. City Manager Habada and City Treasurer, that we cannot lose money in this fund, correct?
As far as I know, no. Yeah. In the years that I've worked with Maryland Local Government Investment Pool, from my time in Tacoma Park, we never lost any money, no. It was a question of making sure you had the timing in terms of liquidity, so that when you needed it, you could pull it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's still 70%. That's what.
No, because that's
75%.
you want to go up.
With this? I guess, Mr. President, yeah, because I'm just looking at
One second.
S&P's. Oh, go ahead.
1 second. All right, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just looking at S&P's in an article that they did write about money market funds, and rapidly rising rates are putting some money market funds at risk. So it isn't any investment; it can be a risk. Maryland has been very good because they're very conservative about their investments. So they very seldom lose money, but it's not to say that they can't. They just haven't. That's the way they do it. They do a very conservative investment portfolio. So, I'm just saying, it can happen. It may not happen. Probably won't happen. But they're not going to guarantee you that you're going to make money every year. So,
Thank you. City Manager Habata, did you have something?
Yeah, well, if the interest rates drop, right now they're high, but, yes, you won't make as much, but you're not going to lose your principal. That's the way this fund was set up, the investment fund pool was set up, and originally was for the state to make sure that public entities knew they couldn't operate in the public stock business kind of thing on Wall Street. This is safe, and we're not allowed to lose money. And the way this was set up, the state did not want any public entity investing in such a way that they would lose money, and that's why they created this pool. So I believe that the way that they have set it up is such that the rates may go up and down. You don't lose, you just don't make as much depending on what happens externally in the economy. Anything else you want to say about that, Dean?
Yes, and one of the things you should understand is that this pool is exclusive only to government agencies, to local governments. It is not a speculative per se, high speculative fund. So that's one of the reasons why it's a safe place for us to put our funds right now. It's earning a lot with regard to its interest, and it will be a lucrative endeavor for the city. But please note that this fund will be monitored on a monthly basis and reported to the council. And not only that, we will let you know where things are changing and make decisions based on whether we need to reduce funds or increase funds in that pool.
Councilwoman Jones?
And let me bring a point of clarity to Ms. Habata and Mr. Dean. Where we have our monies now, we're not gaining anything at all, are we?
No, we're not earning any funds on where the money is now. It's a significant opportunity cost that we are really sustaining right now. In my next Treasurer's report, I will start to providing you with those alternative investment opportunities and the fact that we are sustaining serious opportunity cost on this endeavor.
Thank you.
Mayor Cross?
Thank you, Council President. I too do not have the page 2, but I do acknowledge that inside of the PNC Capital Advisors report that this will renew. That's particularly on the April 3rd, 2019 Maryland Local Government Investment Pool Objectives and Policies. Section 2, Investment Policies, line item Charlie, which says typically the pool's average life will range between 25 to 55 days and fluctuate according to a short-term interest rate. So if the pool's life is 25 to 55 days, do we need to have the resolution acknowledge that point for reinvestment without us having to come back and ask permission again for the reinvestment? Because if the pool life ends in 25 to 55 days, then what do we do next? Thank you.
Mr. President,
Councilman Herron?
I think since they only invested in the short term, they just reinvested back into the fund. That's what it's a short-term investment for 25 to 55 days. After that term is up, then they reinvest whatever proceeds you got back into the fund. So it's just a revolving cycle. So we shouldn't have to come back in again once we put it in there. It should just be going, rising up. That's about it.
Any other discussion before we move for a vote? Hearing none.
Oh, I do know. So how much are we actually putting into this fund?
70%. What? But you want an exact dollar?
I want a dollar amount. We can round it down. Like by a couple of million. And how much we leaving in the bank?
Right now, with all the accounts that we have, which is another thing I'll look into, to see what are the remaining balances.
Okay,
hit your mic.
One sec. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, to look at their minimum balances, like how much the bank requires us to hold in specific accounts. There are 4 to 5 accounts that are holding funds that we could actually move as well. But in total, we are looking at $12 million, and we'll just be moving 70%, which is $8,400,000.
So we in operating, we only going to have the ARPA money, basically? Maybe maybe $1 million in general operating funds?
You could look at it that way, but I'm managing the funds based on request, based on monthly requests for expenditure.
That's not a good idea. Okay, well, at least I know it's $8 million. Well, it gives me enough to do what I got to do, but go ahead. All right, I'm good.
Yes, but please.
Mind you that, there's still cash coming in. So, and this is basically our
Actually,
reserves.
not until October will cash come in. You're drying up on cash coming in.
Well, the question we will have then, what is the cash flow sound for operating?
Well, what I can tell you is that we have a positive cash flow right now on a monthly basis. We will have a break in July,
right?
But August, September are the months when we'll find funds coming in. September, October is where the higher amounts of funds will come in. So at this point, I'm not very concerned. The only issue that I will monitor are the capital expenditures that we'll be doing in the next, let's say, 3 to 4 months. We may start doing some more streets, and with regard to vehicles, we are looking at maybe October before we start looking at that kind of capital projects. But typically, the ARPA fund or the ARPA requests for expenditures, they will be rolling in. I really don't expect it to kick off until sometime in September, when we have to start doing payments of those requests.
Question. So in the meantime, we can have those funds in the investment pool earning money. And then in September, if there was a need to take it out, we could take it out in September.
And that is what I would recommend.
Okay.
As much as possible, we could keep in the account while watching our cash flows. I would recommend that we work that way. And I'm in that department. I'm watching the accounts.
Okay, yeah, you're watching the accounts.
It's an active,
And when you go on vacation?
It's an active review. I'm going just for a week in August.
But I'm just saying, and when you go on vacation, you go on vacation. That's why I'm not understanding why we're going to leave so little in that account. I mean, it's an operating account. You never know what you're going to come up to. You go on vacation, who's moving the money? Who else going to have authorization to move their money out of that account?
Okay, so how that fund will operate, it's going to be based on what our expenditures projected will be. I will be doing the projections based on the expenditures, and right now we're leaving $4 million there. So that will hold us over till funds start coming in September.
Okay, I still didn't get an answer. When you go on vacation,
Okay.
who's going to move? Who's going to be able to move money if it needs to be moved?
But the caveat. No,
I don't want a caveat. No. Who else is going to be? You always have a backup. You got to have some redundancy in operations.
At the same time, though, if he's not moving money, we're not paying any bills that week either. So he takes care of everything that needs to be taken care of before he goes on vacation.
Yes.
So he's not moving money. No one's moving money when he's gone. No one's paying bills when he's gone because everything is done, checked off before he leaves. So.
Okay, I'm going to ask this again because I think I'm not being understood.
Okay.
Who else can move money out of that account?
No.
Just the treasurer. That ain't gonna fly with me. One of these signers on this account, we gotta be able to move something.
So please be clear to understand.
One second.
I'm referring to staff. I mean, I'm assuming he's going to answer the question about who's on the account.
Okay, so there, like with our bank account, we have our signatories. Mm-hmm. If there's a need for fund to be moved within that week that I am not here, the city manager, the president, the vice president can have or will have that.
The city manager.
The city manager will make the request to the president.
Oh, okay.
And the vice president and the mayor to move funds during that time. They are the signatories, and Councilwoman Fareed as well is a part of the signatory block.
Can I ask a question? Why would y'all take me all the way around Robin Hood's bonds just to tell me that the 3 signatures are the ones that can move the money? I don't understand why we went round and round. That was a 2-second answer. And we went round and round and round to just say the signatures on our account are the signatures on our bank account. That's all they had to say. I'm not understanding why we had to go through this whole production number. It's like 10:08, and you just, yeah, I'm tired. All right, thank you. I'm tired.
All right. Any other discussion? All right, Madam Clerk, could we have a voice vote on this one, please?
Councilwoman Fareed. Councilwoman Fareed.
Yes.
Councilwoman Guillaume.
Yes.
Councilman Hairston.
Yes.
Councilman Herring.
I still think it's upside down, but I'm gonna vote yes.
Councilwoman Jones.
Yes.
Council Vice President Ferguson.
Yes.
Council President Curtis.
Yes.
Vote carries 7-0.
All right. Next up is Resolution R-49-2023, resolution to authorize an agreement with Red Speed MDLC for vehicle speed reduction camera system and for ticket collection. Madam Clerk.
Resolution 49-2023. The sponsor is President Curtis at the request of administration. It was introduced on June 5th, brought to a public hearing on the 13th, and being voted upon today. A resolution to authorize the city to enter into an agreement with Red Speed Maryland LLC for an automated traffic law enforcement system for vehicle speed enforcement on roadways throughout the city of Glenarden. Whereas the city has the authority to use a third-party speed enforcement system, and whereas Red Speed representatives presented the company's products and capabilities at the City Council's work session on June 3rd, 2023, and whereas Red Speed offers automated enforcement, red light enforcement, other traffic enforcement systems, as well as law enforcement technology, and whereas the speed camera enforcement equipment, installation, maintenance, and customer service will be provided by Red Speed at no cost to the city, and whereas the Glenarden Police Department will manage the relationship with Red Speed and provide oversight of the enforcement program, and whereas the agreement with Red Speed will provide for payment to Red Speed from revenue generated by the enforcement program, and now, therefore, be it resolved by the City Council of Glenarden, Maryland, sitting in regular session this 20th day of June 2023, as follows: that the city manager is authorized to sign an agreement with Red Speed for an automated enforcement, red light enforcement, and other traffic enforcement systems that do not represent a cost to the city. 2, the agreement with Red Speed shall be subject to legal review by the city attorney for sufficiency prior to the execution of the agreement. 3, the police chief may consider other law enforcement technologies available to the city as offered by Red Speed under the agreement, provided that any cost to the city of $6,000 and above that may be associated with acquiring other law enforcement technologies from Red Speed will be brought forth to the city council for approval. And 4, this resolution shall take effect immediately upon adoption.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Is there a motion to bring this resolution to the floor for a vote?
So moved.
So moved by Councilwoman Jones. Is there a second? I will second it. Second by Council President Curtis. Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. President.
Councilman Harry.
Question, where's the contract at? There's no there's no contract? There's no contract?
City Manager Bada.
Yeah, we just got the contract on Friday. It went to my junk mail file, and I didn't see it until over the weekend. So I don't have the contract.
And also, did you get other quotes from Opera Traffic and any other company vendor?
This is coming as a result of a piggyback onto the town of Brentwood's contract that Red Speed had with them that allows other cities to ride their contract.
Right, I understand that. But I think we're also supposed to have 2 more, even though we're riding it, 2 more to look at also in addition to this one, even though we're riding. Again, I still would like to see the contract. I know I can't vote on it without a contract. All right, thank you.
Any other discussion?
Yes, I wanted to know, did they specify where they was placing these cameras? Like, or they just say throughout the city? Is this?
The chief can answer that, but we're hoping that we can get on, through them, get on to Martin Luther King Highway.
Okay.
To stop for both all the lights that are within the city, the traffic lights, as well as the speed cameras on Martin Luther King.
Okay.
Yeah.
By agreement through this with the state. Okay, that Red Speed has done in the past with other municipalities on state roads. That's the major effort here
Mr.
with
President.
them.
Councilman Harry.
Yeah, so these are speed cameras or are they red light or are they both?
Both.
Yeah, I don't phone no red light cameras. I don't get ticketed all the time, but
All right.
Mr. President,
Councilwoman Guillaume.
I just wanted to go back a second, Ms. Habita. So this is with the state, right, that we are going to be able to go into this. So with the revenue side of things, would we also have to partition that with the state, or will that be straight to Glenarden?
No, it didn't. The state would not be a part of the collection.
Okay.
Any of the money that would come through. It was just getting permission to put the equipment on a state road.
Got it.
And Red Speed has those connections. They also have the ability, as was mentioned, to do traffic studies on particular streets where we're having difficulty with speeding, and that goes beyond what was approved by the state, to do traffic studies to be able to go ahead and put it elsewhere. Otherwise, I think it was limited to schools only originally when the state allowed this program, third-party enforcement.
Thank you. I'm sorry. 1 second. I saw Councilwoman Jones' hand first. Did you have?
Yes.
Councilwoman Jones.
There will be a memorandum of understanding with the state, correct? Like what they did in Mount Rainier?
Yeah, I mean, it's something, it has changed since, the way it used to operate is they wouldn't let you this at all, and then they have done some change in the state law that allows that to happen.
I knew Mount Rainier had understanding with them, but that was because the mayor at that time went to the state and did a lot of lobbying and got that done. So it would probably be a same thing, just a memorandum of understanding that, you know, we can do this. And then, like you said, there's new laws now, so the new law will also afford us the opportunity to do this. Thank you.
Sure.
Councilman Herring, did you have a comment?
Yes, on line 36, again, it says the city manager is authorized to sign an agreement. That still should say the mayor or the council president.
Okay.
I have that noted.
Also, Ms. Habada.
Yes.
The percentage that we get from each ticket, I know at one time we were getting very little from the state tickets, or if anything at all. Has that changed?
I can't answer that. Chief, can you answer that question? Question is what the original arrangement was in terms of the split of the tickets that were being issued, and what did the state allow?
Good evening, everyone. In reference to that question, I don't have the information right now. I have to follow up and get that information for you. I don't want to give you bad information.
Right, because I know before we barely got anything from a state ticket.
Right.
So, yeah, just let me know.
Yes, sir.
All right, thanks.
All right. Mayor Cross.
Thank you, Council President. My question is relative to line 37, 38, and line 44 through 46. It says that the system that does not represent a cost to the city, which is on line 37, 38, but then on line 44 through 46, it says that the offer to Red Speed under this agreement provides that any cost that the city cost to the city of $6,000 and above may be associated with acquiring new law enforcement technologies. So what's in between that 0 to 6,000? Because it's at no cost, or there's 0 to 6,000? Because right now, it almost implies that there could be costs while we're saying that this is a no-cost contract. I just need some point of clarity, point of information for the chief.
Well, once you said
Item three is what she's referring to, and they, as you recall, they presented some artificial intelligence.
I remember that.
So that,
and so that will be.
and those are special. That's special equipment.
Okay, I'll let you.
So just for clarification on that, so in this contract, if we, because of all the technology they have, if we decided to upgrade anything 6,000 or more, we just have to get approval in reference to that from the council like anything else.
Yep.
But they do have, they offer a lot of different technology. For one thing, we know that we've been getting surveillance cameras at different locations, like a Veterans Memorial and all the parks, 7th Street Park once it's completed, and the building. So with those, anything 6,000 or more, we have to get approval from the council. But they do offer a large variety of technology and artificial intelligence. That's why we're so intrigued with this particular company.
Thank you.
Mr. President, may I follow up on that right quick?
Mr. Harry?
Yeah, so you're saying, okay, let's say the technology we got right now go obsolete and we have to get some new technology. If it's above $6,000, we have to pay. Is that what we're saying?
Mm-mm.
No,
They said any technology $6,000 or above. I mean, if it goes up, what we have may not be what we need.
Right.
So if we needed something, if we wanted to upgrade that, we'd have to pay.
Well, you have to pay for the technology, but anything for 6,000 or more, we have to get the approval of the council. So we can't just can't go and purchase it without the council approving it.
I know that, but I'm just saying, if we have cameras in place right now and we say, okay, you know what, they're not doing it for us. And the council's like, okay, we want to upgrade those cameras.
Right.
And those cameras are more than $6,000, we have to pay, even though they're still speed cameras.
There's two different things.
I'm just talking about the speed cameras now, because or the speed cameras that's going to be free no matter what we get.
Yeah.
Right.
So there are two different things here. So the speed cameras are separate and no cost to the city. Speed cameras break down, they malfunction, they replace it at no cost. So all of that is free. There are like add-on services that Red Speed offers, like they're putting cameras at the Veterans Memorial or anything like that. All point 3 is saying that if the police department did want to, get some of those add-on services that's completely separate from the speed cameras, completely separate from the Red Speed cameras, that is no cost to the city. But if we wanted to get some of these add-on services, that that the police department's going to stay consistent with the charter that says that they must get approval if they want to get any add-on services for anything that costs over $6,000. And in fact, if it costs over $2,000, they have to alert the council that they're going to make the purchase. So that's all that is saying. This is separate from the the red light cameras and the speed cameras.
Okay, I guess my question is this. They give us a little brownie camera, like the brownie camera that they used to have back in the day where you got to turn the thing and take the picture, and they like, this is going to work for you fine, and we're like, the brownie ain't working, we need a digital. Do we have to pay for the digital, or do we stick with the brownie?
No.
Technology, a high level of technology, because they can give you they can give you the median. But if we want a high end, we have to pay for a high end service.
They're all high end.
No, they are not. They're going to give you this game. They're going to give you let's say, because we're going to have a flip phone, and everybody else using an iPhone.
Are you referring to
I'm talking to the speed camera. I'm asking about the speed camera because technology changes, and again, it could be a whole different
city manager.
That's why we need the contract. That's why I like to see a contract, because I like to see what we're getting for our money.
City manager Habana?
I'm sorry?
Did you have a?
Yeah, the speed cameras are separate from the artificial intelligence, the license plate readers, the surveillance cameras that would be at locations where we're having problems with graffiti or whatever to catch the perpetrators. Those cost. The speed cameras don't cost us anything other than, we have an agreement with them, and they're going to handle the ticket collection, and they're going to charge us for the ticket collection.
I guess I'm asking
per ticket a certain amount.
Can I go ahead before you say something?
This section doesn't apply.
Would it just be easier just to scratch this section off, because it adds no value to it?
Fine.
Because if you do decide to get these add-on services, then you're already within your authority to go for add-on services if it's under $2,000. If it's over $2,000, you have to let the council know. If it's over $6,000, it requires a resolution. So you really don't need this one because, if this is what's hanging people up, let's just nix that piece.
Fine.
All right? Any?
Point of information.
Mayor Cross?
I think it's misleading to the citizens and also on this resolution to say that this system that do not represent a cost to the city, because there is a cost to the city. We just talked about the speed cameras charging for the ticketing, charging for the collecting of the ticketing. If we want to get any of this sexy stuff like the surveillance cameras, the artificial intelligence, the license plate reader that they briefed us, that's a cost to the city. So we can't say that this represents no cost to the city, but maybe we could reword that to say a cost not to exceed $5,999, because there's going to be a cost. We're not just going to get the cameras and walk away. We want some of the sexy stuff. That's why we're going with Red Speed. Thank you.
Chief Bryant?
Just clarification, that's two different things. The speed cameras is not a charge to the city.
Right.
Not a charge. All the other things that she's just talking. Ma'am?
No, 1 second.
No.
So, Chief Bryant, please.
So we got speed cameras. The speed cameras, no cost to the citizens. The speed cameras will generate revenue for the city at no cost for the cameras. They're setting the cameras up, no cost. That's what that means in there. The other part is for anything additional that we have to pay for.
Thank you. So we agree that we'll just take that bullet
Yes.
point out. If you do come across some of these add-ons, then, like I said, if
Of
it's over
course,
to,
we briefed the
you have to
council.
stay consistent with the charter.
Yes.
All right.
Mr. President, I do want to say that I want to be quite clear because I'm going to tell you, I'm not a big proponent of surveillance cameras and all of that. I believe people have a right to their privacy. Putting cameras all over the neighborhood and all in fields and streets and parks, okay, that's something different. But when you start going to street corners and all this other stuff, that's why I really, so I think you need to come to the city, come to the council because it is city property before you install any camera on any city property, so that we at least know what's what. And if we may not want it there, but again, I mean, putting cameras throughout the city, I feel also is an invasion of people's privacy. That's a big issue because I've seen people do things, they have video and, video is always out here now and everywhere, so, but I still think that it needs to be clear that, the cost of the cameras is basically being borne by the tickets that's being written. They get they're getting a certain percentage of the ticket that's written. That's how they cover their costs. So for people to know, that's how they cover. That's why it's no cost to the citizens. But I still think I would like to see the contract because again, I can guarantee you that if you try to upgrade, I mean, technology changes, and cameras and. Like I said, I still think I just like to see that any upgrades on that camera is not going to be borne by the citizens in this community because it's going to be borne by them, and or our percentage will not be adjusted based on what cameras we have. I'm just trying to be clear on that. That's why I want to see the contractors make sure that everything is tight because as technology changes, you get new cameras, and I'm like, okay, we get new cameras, so. Will that adjust the amount we get from each ticket based on the new technology, because it's more expensive. And so, I just, like I said, I just want to see the contract before I can vote on anything because I haven't seen it.
Okay.
Just let me add something on in reference to, we did speak about cameras for this building, and we had an issue with cameras that we had in the building that weren't updated. They came in, they did a walkthrough with the cameras we presently have. And they can make adjustments by putting the motherboard in to use the camera we do have on the facility and saving us money there. Because I think the big thing was last time we wanted to spend $30,000 and that was too much. So this company actually taking the camera we do have and making adjustments so we don't have to spend $30,000. So that's one of the add-ons that I think is phenomenal. And I'm pretty sure you guys will agree with that. Thank you.
All right. Any other comments? Hearing none, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Fareed. Councilwoman Fareed.
Yes.
Councilwoman Guillaume.
Pass.
Councilman Hairston. Councilman Herring.
I'd like to see the contract abstain.
Councilwoman Jones.
Yes.
Council Vice President Ferguson.
Abstain.
Council President Curtis.
Yes.
Doesn't pass. Because you have.
Yo.
Oh, I'm sorry, Councilwoman Guillaume.
So I just want to say that while I think this is a great endeavor, I just don't feel comfortable not having a contract to look at. That's my only holdback. I can't vote on something without a contract. And Council President, you're saying something?
Will it please the council to not sign the contract until sign the contract until, because this is a resolution.
Correct.
The only people who can sign a contract is the mayor or myself. So would it be helpful that we don't sign the contract until the council has opportunity to read it?
I'll feel comfortable. For me, I'll feel comfortable with that. That's my only holdback. I did my research on Red Speed, by the way, to some of the questions I didn't have. but I just would have liked the contract. Just to see. So,
I agree.
but I am in support of what you are recommending, Council President.
Mr. Harris, I see you.
No, I am not, because again, I want to see a contract. I don't believe in passing anything without the documentation being in my hand to read, because contracts change, things change, and I don't know what we're going to get. That's just me. I just don't do business like that. I don't go on, okay, let's vote on it, and then when we see the contract, if it isn't what we want, then we're going to have to come back to the drawing board anyway. Or we may not want them at all. If the contract isn't what we think it should be, we need to see we need to have in our hand what it actually is. I mean, as stewards of this city's money, we really should be looking at these contracts before we approve a contract. I just don't agree in doing business like that. That's just me. I
respect that.
Yes, thank you.
Make a motion to table this?
What I was going to say, but I'm still in my joint. Sorry, I'm sorry. So, with hearing what I just heard, what will it take for us to move this forward with a contract? Like, can we table it? Like, what would my vote need to be? Do I need to make a motion within my vote right now?
This is table. Table it.
So I can just say,
If you abstain,
because I passed initially.
But if you abstain, then it fails and it can be brought back.
Yeah, it can be brought back.
Okay,
can be brought
so I will respectfully abstain.
Okay, so it fails.
It fails.
And then we can bring it back likely when we vote on the budget, but it'll give the council time to look at the actual contract. All right. Who's that? 49?
Yes.
Next up.
So we tabled it.
No, failed.
It failed.
Yeah. No. I have a question. So since it failed, does it have to go all the way back through the process? Okay.
Because it's already been through the whole process. All you need is a contract.
Okay.
We just bring it back for a vote.
All right. Next up is, that's failed, 3-7. Next up is R 50-2023 resolution to select the city council president. I read my own.
Resolution sponsored by the City Council. The public hearing was held on June 13th. The date of introduction was June 5th, and we're voting on it today in regular session, June 20th. A resolution to select the City Council president. Whereas the Glenarden City Charter, Section 305A, President, calls for a president to be selected from the council members during the organizational meeting, and whereas the president of the council shall preside over all meetings of the council and shall perform other duties as specified by the council by the resolution, and now therefore be it resolved that the city council of the city of Glenarden sitting in regular session June 20th, the 20th day of June 23, as follows. 1. City Council Member Derek D. Curtis II is hereby approved as the President of the Glenarden City Council for the period of 1 year from the effective date of said resolution. And number 2, that this resolution shall take effect upon immediate adoption.
Is there a motion to bring this to the floor for a vote?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilwoman Jones, second by Councilman Hairston. Any discussion? I have one. So it says hereby approved for a period of 1 year from the effective date of said resolution. Can we just put FY fiscal year 24, just in case it's not done at the same exact date next year. And that, you know, because we should be changing, I mean, the vote is for each fiscal year.
No, the vote is for 1 year.
1 year?
1 year. That's what it says. The council president should serve
So
at this organizational meeting. And usually it's for 1 year, so you want a beginning and a start date.
yeah, so what I'm saying is, can the beginning date be July the 1st through June 30th? That's what I'm saying. So it won't, it says, according to the effective date, June 20th. Well, what if we don't have a meeting next June 20th?
Yeah, what if the regular session falls on?
Then you would just continue on until you're replaced.
I mean, it's just
It's just the overlap.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the easiest way to do it.
That's fine, just for a point of clarity. All right, any other discussion? Any opposition? Hearing none, by unanimous consent, Resolution R-50-2023 is adopted. Next up is Resolution R-51-2023, sponsored by the City Council. The date of introduction was on June 5th, 2023. The public hearing was held on June 13th, 2023. It's been voted on in this regular session on June 20th, 2023. Whereas the Glenarden City Charter, Section 305B, Vice President calls for a Vice President to be selected from the council members during the organizational meeting. And whereas the Vice President of the council shall execute the duties of the council president in absence of the president, now therefore be it resolved that the City Council of City of Glenarden, Maryland, sitting in regular session the 20th day of June 2023 as follows. City Council Member Angela D. Ferguson is hereby approved as the Vice President of the Glenarden City Council for the period of 1 year from the effective date of said resolution. And number two, this resolution shall take effect immediately upon adoption. Is there a motion to bring this to the floor for a vote?
So moved.
So moved by
Second.
Jones, second by Hairston. Any discussion? Any opposition? Hearing none, by unanimous consent, this resolution is hereby adopted. And I just want to say that it's a pleasure serving the council in this way as council president. Look forward to serving the council again this coming year. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we tabled that one. So we're done with legislation. Whew. Thank you. All right. That is the end of our legislation. As we noted at the beginning, that the ordinance for the budget has been tabled. I take it you have something for us, Council?
Of the budget, and I need to hand it out.
Oh, yeah, you can hand it out, and we'll move on. All right. Well, with that, we will move on to the reports. First up is the mayor's report. Mayor Cross, if you give her 10 minutes, please.
Wait a minute, let me find my remote.
Thank you, sir. Mayor Cross, you have 10 minutes.
Thank you, Council President. Thank you, and good evening to the citizens that all have hung in here with us. We'll be quick. We did meet with the Frost community to discuss sandbag availability, and we also passed information by, with, and through the county. to the administration to handle the environmental concerns relative to flooding. DCAO Environment as well as Economic Development have been met at the table for discussion relative to moving forward in helping our Frost community, but also supporting economic development across the city. As we note that we've grown some 1,500 new souls. What we're looking at is the food deserts, and we're also looking at the economy itself and whether or not it is sustainable for those of us that are on the ground already relative to the folks that are coming in. We did sign and approve ordinance to begin the repaving and the resurfacing work on Glenarden Parkway. All of that is looking good, as well as the sidewalks throughout the city. We have had some success as it pertains to working overall with this budget submission. Though we tabled our budget submission today, hopefully we'll be able to get that through with the latest review that's going to be handed over by the treasurer. We looked at the culture in our community, and we've seen that it's growing expeditiously and it's very diverse. So from the office of the mayor, we're pushing hard for not only mental health and wellness, but an evolution of cultural diversity and inclusion relative to our city. As we're looking at cultural-based training, groups and community opportunities to grow our networks within our community as part of following the mental health and wellness strategy for all sets of our communities. We are looking at also combating human trafficking and other concerns that have happened, as well as gun violence, and have worked with numerous organizations that are supporting, one of which comes by with and through Prince George's County and the Hope Collective, going out and supporting, again, our communities with the gun violence, as we're looking at gun violence not just within our borders, but across the district. We've met with the Glenarden Housing Authority relative to the violence that had been reported on multiple occasions. And then we have found an opportunity to support resolving that by with and through the police department. We do have monthly meetings with various organizations, Prince George's County mayors, Maryland Black mayors, as well as the community of interest groups that are meeting for the local networks relative to people of cultural catalysts. So this diversity and inclusion piece is going to be a big one coming into this coming year. We are also looking at some nonprofits that are supporting our nation of Africa, as we are seeing a growth in our Black Folks Plan, if you will, that's in Prince George's County, as well as the state by with and through the governor's office. So we're looking at that. Civility training is something that's taken the forefront as a concern, because it's not something that's taught in school anymore. It's something that I will acknowledge that the NAACP Prince George's County is actually holding by with and through appointment from the governor's office sessions to help our community leaders address this topic of civility. What does civility mean, and how can we utilize that to combat the violence and the disenfranchisement that's happening in our 16 to 24 year group of children? We've had some proclamations that have come forth, one being for the multicultural diversity and global inclusion, the other one for the life recognition of the late James W. Humphreys, who was a resident for over 30 years, and also to Judge Lavanya Woods on their annual College and Career Day experience. So we have our third quarter newsletter that has been drafted, should be coming out to everyone's door by July, September. If you do not have it, please advise 301-773-2100 so that we can make sure that your address is a part of the mailing. There's several community meetings that are coming up across District 24, and also from the Vice President, if you will, of the County Council. We are encouraging all citizens to attend these talk sessions to understand what happened in the last legislative section and what's actually going to be proposed in the coming legislative year group this August. So we thank you all so much. We look forward to a wonderful summer with our children. Again, August the 5th from 10 to 2 p.m. at the Glenarden Community Center. We will be having our back to school transitional youth extravaganza. And I will highlight that this year involves resume reviewing and also job placement with Prince George's County being in the room as well to offer jobs on the spots to those that are in that year group of 18 to 24. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mayor Cross, City Manager, Habata.
I'm going to highlight just a few things, and if there's any comments from the council or the citizens, not take too long. Just wanted to highlight that the road improvements were started in May, and we were told that the NZI thought that they could get it done by June 30th, but they may not. But they have finished all the concrete work on McLean and on Hamlin and on Glenarden Parkway. They've started on the they started on May, what is it, May? I signed the contract in May, around the 19th. And they should be done by June 30th with everything, including the parking lot that you all approved this evening, should be done by June 30th. They're they finish up the patchwork on Glenarden Parkway, I think today at Bright Seat, and then they'll be coming through. We're resurfacing everything pretty much at the same time. The Glenarden Parkway and the parking lot. Parking lot may take a little bit more work in terms of trying to dig out some of the asphalt that's not that's a problem in terms of repatching and resurfacing that. On page 3, there's some citizen inquiries that were made. We're still working through some of that. A trash situation with a resident who is having complaints about treatment from a trucking company. We have a resident on Jeff Road wants a speed bump and put in, and we'll be adding that to the list of July 1 street work that we'll be looking at. And then we had another resident whose concern is at the Glenarden Parkway at Bright Seat Road, that the traffic light on Glenarden Parkway, when you're going across Bright Seat or coming down the other way towards City Hall, that the light is not holding long enough for cars to get through in Glenarden Parkway. The Bright Seat has the priority, and that's creating some concerns about accidents that have occurred at that intersection. The other thing that I was out there with the resident, and I was standing out there on the sidewalk. She noted that the number of trucks that come across Glenarden Parkway going towards Woodmore, there was 3 trucks. One was a semi, and there were 2 dump trucks, one of which was Park and Planning taking a roll-off to someplace going in the direction towards Woodmore. So in terms of the number of trucks that are going that direction, there's a complaint about that. So the other thing to note structurally is code enforcement in May was given the memo that they're now reporting to the city manager. So any concerns about code enforcement should be directed to me to have, and I'll be working with code enforcement to handle any complaints. We've had some Gold Room coordinator candidate interviews last month, and need to talk to council about moving forward on that. And you've got the code enforcement May summary as a part of my report. The human resources specialist report, I'm not going to go through all that, take the time to do that. The report from the webmaster. So I think if there are any questions, we'd be glad to hear your questions. And I think Mr. Simpson is next, and then the chief is next.
I just have one question. Councilman Jones.
I just had a question concerning, because today on my way to Pilates in Woodmore, I decided to go around because I didn't want to go up Glenarden Parkway because of all the confusion.
Right.
But a tractor trailer did come through there.
Yeah.
By the time I got back to the Woodmore Shopping Center, it had made its way all the way through because it came through Glenarden Parkway and it went to ended up back over there by the Nando's. But it was a tractor trailer. What is it that we can do as a community? Wondering if maybe the chief might know of something that we can do to can we stop tractor trailers from coming through our community like that, especially with that road being so thin?
Yeah, I think that was the residents' request that we address that, and I think that certainly we control the Glenarden Parkway is a city street. It's not a county. It's not a state. That you can control that, and you know the ways that I've seen it done is gross volume weight or. You know, there's a way to eliminate it so that you know you're doing pickup trucks, you're not doing dump trucks, you're not doing semis.
So is it you said it's by weight?
It could be by weight, but I think probably the chief can help us with that at some point in terms of trying to come up with the ordinance that would put that into place and that would give us the signage that we need to put up there at that intersection.
Because I know at one time the citizens were complaining, last year I think they were complaining about them coming through like Cousins and Jeff Road, and because the wires hang so low,
right.
They were pulling down the wires. So I'm not sure, I have to talk to Ms. Jarrett again to see if she's still noticing the tractor trailers coming through Cousins. To see if that's still happening, and Jeff Road. Mm-hmm. But I know I did notice one this morning when I was going out that it came right up Glenarden Parkway, you know. But because I went around the back way, I figured, you know, but it made its way. By the time I got to the circle at Shopping Center, the tractor trailer had gotten there too. So
I'm wondering if they're seeing that as a shortcut to get to Woodmore.
I believe they are, because he came down Bright Seat Road and then made that left and went up that way. Oh, there's the chief. What can we do to prevent tractor trailers from coming through the community like that?
We addressed that issue when I first got here as chief of police, especially in reference to Cousins. So Lieutenant Robson went up to I think he went to Costco's and he went to some of the other businesses and told them about that. And we did get complaints prior to that, but I haven't heard of any complaints since. He went up there and spoke to them in reference to that.
Well, this one didn't go to Costco. It went back, you know where the Nando's is? In that little alcove, instead of coming over on the Glenarden Community Center side, they went over on the other side.
Okay, yeah. But I know we had a constant problem because I think they was taking that as a shortcut out route and knocking down the wires and stuff. So I have Lieutenant follow up on that tomorrow and see what else can be done. But the initial complaint I got when I first took over, that was a constant problem that we did address. So,
okay.
All right,
thank you. So I'll let you know the next time I see you.
I just have one question to the repavement of Glenarden. Are they going to put the speed bumps back?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
That's
Mr. President.
Councilman Harry?
Yes, just to follow up on that, I want to think that the DSP actually restricts certain vehicle weights from going up Glenarden Parkway and using that circle. So I think we need to look at the DSP because it's already in law by the county. So if it is, we can just, sign it, post signage. Detailed site plan. Yeah, the detailed site plan.
Because that circle right there at Glenarden Parkway and Jeff Road is real small.
It's real small, but yeah.
I'm thinking, I should have went that way to see how he got around there.
Well, they ride up on it and they just messed the dirt all up on there. They ride up on it.
Curve a little bit. That shopping center too congested anyway, man.
There's more money for us. Every car's up there.
Mayor Cross?
Thank you, Council President. I just looked up the city code. Looks like subsection 14914 vehicle weight limits says it shall be unlawful for any person to drive a commercial vehicle or other tractor trailer combination having a gross weight in excess of that respectfully prescribed under any streets or bridges or portions thereof in accordance to Schedule 10, which is subsection 149-40, which is attached to this particular chapter. So this is a part of the code already. There's limitation. 149 TAC 14, vehicle weight limitations.
Yeah.
And let's see
Yeah,
here.
we're gonna have to address that because if that's for the city, I mean, how do the stores get their merchandise?
They go around 202.
Yeah, no, I get that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying what the mayor just read, that it can't be in the city at all.
No, city
They
streets.
can't go.
City streets.
It just needs to be posted then.
Wouldn't it be?
Which needs to be posted.
202.
And then
St.
come
Joseph's would be
in St.
Lockhart.
Joseph and Lockhart.
Is that not a city street?
Oh, that was county.
Oh, you know what, you might be right.
Yeah. I'm just saying that some things might be outdated.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, the problem still exists because I've seen several tractor trailers ride past my house, and I was like, oh man, I don't think you can make it in the circle, and they were no longer there, so clearly they made it. I don't know if they rode on the curb or nothing or anything, but all right.
What are we on? Simpson.
Mr. Simpson?
Good evening, Mayor and Council and residents of Glenarden. You have a copy of my report. I'll just highlight a few of the items. Currently,
I'm sorry. If you could speak into the mic.
Sorry. Is that better?
Yep, that's
okay.
better.
I'll just touch on a few topics. We're currently, with staffing, we have 2 vacancies currently, and we have 2 temps that are working. We did make a hire. That'll be on the next report. We're going through our normal grass cutting and daily trash pickup, as well as daily building cleaning. Thank you for the approval for the new vehicle. We have 3, well, now 2, but with the new one coming, that's definitely appreciated. And all the vehicles are working order. Some basic scheduled maintenance is planned. Equipment status, for the most part, all equipment is functioning. We did some minor repairs, but we are looking at budgeting the replacement of 2 lawnmowers for FY24. Go room and community events, you can see that there. Annual building fire alarm testing, as well as the semi-annual go room kitchen fire testing was also completed. Last month, the carpets in both the community room and go room were clean. We need to schedule that again in the go room. Building stair treads, of course, were replaced here in the admin staircase, as well as the electrical box out front near the marquee was replaced. Our monthly inspection of the roof was completed in May. We did do door lock repairs and 2 new locks for the cable rooms, as well as one for the public works door that had been inoperable for some time. And we have some other scheduled lock repairs for our admin doors, which will be in the next report. And as mentioned, we were working with NZI once we had that approval with the concrete work as well as the asphalt work. Also something just to note, there was some damage at the playground at MLK site, and that has been repaired. And I am open for questions.
Any questions for Public Works? Hearing none. Thank you, sir. Chief of Police.
Good evening again, everyone. Just real quick, we've been having a rash of stolen autos, Hondas, in Prince George's County. Met with Chief Aziz, the police department, also met with the judge in reference to the juveniles. We have 4 juveniles that's terrorizing the city of Glenarden. we know who they are, we know where they live, and we're working with the county in reference to these juveniles. Because of the laws, these juveniles think that they can continue to terrorize the city of Glenarden, and which we're not going to have. So we're implementing plans, and pretty much when the officers stop them and confront them, they're pretty much saying that you can't do anything to me, I'm a juvenile. So as I stated, we know where they live, and it's one with the 4, he's an adult, but he looks like a juvenile. So we're working with detectives from the county, and we're working to confront these individuals, these juveniles that reside in the city of Glenarden, that's terrorizing our community, and we continue to do that because right now they pretty much stealing Hondas from all over the county, and they're bringing them into the city of Glenarden and parking them at certain locations, and sending messages out to their friends to where they can pick the vehicles up at. And in a meeting with the chief, Z from the county, this pretty much happening all over the county, and stolen autos up by 200% compared to last year this time. So they're working to try to get some, until we get the laws in place. What I have my officers doing is we're working with these individuals every time we see them. We let them know that we're on to what they're doing. They call it, they're saying that we're harassing them when we see them doing different things. For example, we know they go up to the 7-Eleven, so the officers go up there and they can't go in there and steal what they want, so they get mad at the officers, and so now they're trying to do a posting on Instagram saying that the officers are harassing them. They're doing that with my with Glenarden police officers, and I heard they're doing with some Prince George's County police officers too, but we are aware of them. One of them got into a confrontation and posted it, cussing out the officers, being very disrespectful to the officer. His mother came up to the station and apologized on his behalf. So at least one mother is working with us. She's pretty much saying that she can't do anything with them. She's trying to find resources and stuff for him. Of course, he's not listening. So we do have some other plans in place in reference to these stolen autos, these Hondas and stuff, that we're working with Prince George's County, Washington area vehicle enforcement unit to try to bring these juveniles to justice in reference to these stolen autos. Other than that, 4th of July is coming up. We're going to deal with that. I did work the last 4th of July. Notice on 7th Street, that particular evening for the 4th of July, we had approximately over 200 people in that block. It was congestion. So what we're doing, once again, we'll be passing out the flyers in English and Spanish. Officers be passing them out, and we'll be having special attention, especially in that area, 4th of July. Also, we'll be having station personnel working in the station from 8 in the evening till 1 in the morning in the station, and also 311 will be available for anything, for all the calls we'll be receiving. So we're trying to prepare for that and be more prepared than we were last year. Although we did, the officers did an outstanding job last year in recovering fireworks. So we continue to improve in that area. And we'll be doing National Night Out once again, Tuesday, August 1st at Teresa Banks Complex. So we already got the information out for that. We'll be passing our flyers for that and getting information out to the community. Any questions?
Councilwoman Guillaume.
Thank you, Council President. I'm going to try to work backwards. So I wanted to tell you, Chief, thank you so much for a wonderful report and a wonderful, I thought you were going to mention a community cookout. I feel like it was so well attended, and I owe our Director of Public Works an apology because I know it was time to wrap up, but I was having such a good time that he and his team probably wanted to yell at us for still lingering while we were there. So just amazing job with getting the community together. And the administration as a whole, I want to commend you guys for a report Ms. Habita, this is of no surprise. I did mention this before, I believe, but I do want to give you a special shout out of sorts because both you and Mr. Himmler, we passed a lot of legislations tonight regarding the guidelines, but both you and Mr. Himmler made yourselves available with me or to me in regards to my busy schedules and all of the edits that came with that. So just wanted to thank you for all of the work that you're doing and or have done to get the ball rolling. It's been a long time coming. A lot of these legislations were sitting here for a while. A lot of my colleagues worked hard to push a lot of these legislations forward, but we needed the guidelines. So today is bittersweet for me because knowing that it's late and I'm tired, but I have to say thank you because we can now finally start seeing the fruits of our labor going to the citizens' hands. Looking forward for the budget to be done once and for all. So thank you for the hard work with that, and that's I think I got everyone. So thank you.
Councilman Harris?
Yeah, Chief, what is the age of these young juveniles?
2 of them 14 years old. One just turned 15. And
okay,
one of them is 18 years old, but he looked like a juvenile because he's one smaller than everybody else. But he's one that attended high school, and they're 14 years old, 14, 15, and I think 113.
Okay, because I pulled up the law for the state of Maryland, and it says 13 and younger cannot be prosecuted.
Right.
Cannot be charged.
Right.
So why are these gentlemen still walking around here and not being arrested?
Right. So I'll give you a perfect example. The vehicles they're bringing into the city of Glenarden, we went over they took 3 of them over to Hobblebush, and we went over there, we looked at a Ring camera, and you can see them in and out of the car, because they use the same MO. They break the back window, they going in.
Right. Don't broad daylight.
Right. So Lieutenant took that to the attorney's office, and they're saying because we didn't see them driving the car, we can't prosecute them in reference to it.
What attorney?
I don't have the attorney's name, but he took the paperwork down the video, and they're saying that, well, we can't charge him with the UUV, unauthorized use of the vehicle, because we didn't see him actually behind the steering wheel driving the vehicle and stuff. So that's some of the problems, challenges we're having as an agency in law enforcement. Not only
the state's attorney's office.
Yes.
Okay.
So we
do we know who brought that? Who put that law into effect? I mean, well, you ain't got to tell me that tonight, but we need to find out who did that.
Oh, trust me,
this is crazy.
Trust me, it's very frustrating. In the meeting, I attended Chief Aziz's staff meeting, and pretty much with the laws and stuff, like I said, the juveniles pretty much telling us, well, you can't do this, you can't do that, and
but
being
you
very
can
disrespectful.
because they're over 13 years old, so you actually can do something. Right. You just got to catch them.
Right, and a lot of times, so because we're not catching them in the act, we did have one night we weren't for sure. We had a Hyundai going at high rate of speed and went once again in the Landover and jumped on 295. We just broadcasted we didn't want to chase the vehicle, but we're doing different things because we're starting to see a pattern where they're going, taking these vehicles and so forth. We're just trying to catch them in the vehicle in the act. We had one the other morning where they had the stolen Hyundai. To also get to the scene, they stole a senior's Hyundai and left the one they just got out of running. So
can I ask one? So if you got them on video breaking out somebody's car window, isn't that vandalism?
Right. So the video we got with the Ring camera, we just see them. We see them circling around the car, going in the car, sitting in the car, but we don't see him break the window, and we don't see him driving the car. So that's one of the videos we have. But and also we've been talking to some of the citizens that's been pretty active. Mr. Powell is one of them, sharing information with us, make sure that if they see something, they give us a call and stuff, and we can directly send officers to these areas and stuff. So it's most definitely frustrating, but I'm working on a plan now with some overtime for some information we develop to try to shut these guys down for their next move.
Okay, because it seems like they're just going around the town doing what they want to do, but I think we need to enforce if the law. They're 14, then we need to enforce it. If they litter, we need to arrest them. What needs to be done because again.
Trust me, yes, we most definitely, like I said, we know where they live. We know they hang out we starting to develop a pattern with some of their moves and stuff, so we're on it. So it's very frustrating, but we are putting things in place and communicating with the other municipalities in Prince George's County and the undercover unit. So.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
Quick question. The red speed cameras, they do, from the presentation, I read that they do the license plate reader. Can they give us an alert when there's a stolen car that enters our jurisdiction?
Yes. We have a couple of our vehicles also that have license plate readers on them. We do get that type of information and stuff. When they pass through certain, if they pass by the police vehicle that has the license plate reader, they're able to pick that type of information up. But with the cameras, that'll give us more help and alert us to these individuals and stuff. So there's a couple of things we're working, and we work with Prince George's County undercover unit because they've been pretty busy because it's happening countywide. But we're trying to develop some plans and stuff. But it's very frustrating. But we're on it.
Yeah, it's great. I appreciate that because I've heard of other jurisdictions who have the same thing, the cameras,
Yes.
and as soon as a stolen car comes into their jurisdiction, it alerts the police officers. Police officers can actually go to where it is and pull that car open and then catch them in an act, and then you have everything you need to prosecute. Councilwoman Fareed?
Yes, thank you, Chief Bryant. My question is regarding these youth. You say you know where they live. Are you engaging with their parents or their guardians
Yes.
as it relates to their activities in the city?
Yes.
And another just question on that is, what is happening at the county level? What is being done? I know last year there was a push to have a curfew implemented for youth, but are there ongoing programs or resources that can be used to redirect these youth's efforts so that they don't necessarily end up in the criminal justice system, but can be, diverted towards more productive activities? Are there any things that you're aware of?
Well, like I said, we're familiar with the parents and the individuals, and pretty much the individuals. They're not interested in any type of activities that can help them. They pretty much want to do what they want. Two of these individuals were engaged in having illegal weapons in the home at the time, and the adult took the hit for them. So these individuals, from talking to the parents and stuff and talking to them, they don't want to do anything right. They don't care about activities, resources, none of the type of stuff. So we're trying to stay in touch with them and take it from there. But they're not interested in nothing available that's being available to assist them. And we tried those avenues, and pretty much the families, two of them are single parents, and they pretty much fed up with the individuals, and they already tried reaching out, trying to get resources and stuff. And one of the kids said in front of the mom that, we can't do nothing to her, and the kids can't do nothing. The mom can't do nothing to them. So it's a sad situation.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Chief Bryant. Treasurer Stewart.
Yeah, for me, it's just an FYI. The treasurer's report for both April and May will be presented together in the next sitting.
Okay.
All right? Yes.
Thank you. All right. There are no more questions for the report. The next item on the agenda is citizens' comments. Citizens' comments. Each citizen will have 5 minutes to speak. I ask that if you please come up to the podium, state your name, and you will have 5 minutes to speak. If you're online, you can raise your virtual hand. If you do not know how to raise your virtual hand, please post something in the chat and I will recognize you. Looks like we have our first individual. If you could please state your name, sir, and you'll have 5 minutes.
My name is Melvin Fields.
I think the mic is off. Yeah, click it on. There we go.
My My name is Melvin Fields, a citizen of Glenarden, live down the street. First of all, I'd like to, is Mr. Simpson still here? Mr. Simpson, real quick, there was a sidewalk across the street from where I live.
1 second, sir. If you could just address the council instead of the staff members, that'll be great. If there's
Right. Yeah, there was a sidewalk. I'm sorry. There was a sidewalk across the street from where I live, needed to be replaced, and from the inspection, Mr. Simpson, he said that he was going to try to get it done within. I think they had another walkthrough because they did all the sidewalks on Glenarden Parkway, and as far as I know, it hasn't been done yet. I was just wondering where they're going to still do it.
the sidewalk being
Sidewalk replacement.
And where's that?
8600 block of Glenarden Parkway. And it's actually across the street from 8628.
Okay, we will look into Ms. Habata if you could work with Public Works to look into that. That'll be, we'll look into it.
Okay. Also, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank, I'm one of the track coaches with the Glenarden Track Club, and I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Mrs. Fareed, Councilwoman Fareed, also Councilwoman Robin Jones, and also Councilwoman Kathleen, I can't pronounce
Guillaume.
Guillaume. All right. And to just thank them for, putting in that resolution for the track club. We're definitely in need of those type of funds. Also, this is our 40th year, ladies and gentlemen, 40 years with Glenarden Track, representing this fine city. We've been around, we've been doing services. We do services for the city of Glenarden. Some of the things that we've done in the past was going green. We've had our track club come out and clean the streets out here. We also had them at Mayor Cross's inaugural ball. They were the ushers at Mayor Cross inaugural ball, so they participate in this city. And some people just don't think they do anything. They're just some club out here. They don't never see them, But we participate in this club, in this city. I just want to let these other folks know that. Also, this city, this club, the Glenarden Track Club, is known across the country. They're known in many cities all across this nation. Also, we are known to be overseas. We're getting ready to go to Toronto, Canada. We're taking over 100 of our student athletes to compete in Toronto, Canada in about 3 weeks from now. So we kind of ask you all for your prayers that we go and come, and we come back to the city in one piece. Because doing, the way things are going on now, ladies and gentlemen, you never know. You never know. So we just ask you for your prayers. And I think that's about it. Councilman Herring was saying something about the number of athletes or something have to do with the kids are not members of this community. They shouldn't be compensated or something. I didn't quite understand what he was getting at. Can you elaborate on that, Councilman Herring?
No, what I asked was the number of children from Glenarden that are on your organization, that are registered in your organization. And I was saying that the funds that we supply should go to registering children that are from Glenarden.
Well, yes. For the past 40 years, we take children, student athletes from all over. And that's been done for the last 40 years.
Thank you, sir. Are there any other citizens' comments? All right, Councilwoman Guillaume.
I just would like to personally and publicly acknowledge Coach Fields for all of the work that you've done, your family has given to this beautiful city. It was my pleasure to be one of the co-sponsors on this legislation. I've been a fan. I've admired the track club for several years before I was even a citizen of this beautiful city, and now that I am, I just can't thank you enough, so thank you.
All right. Any other citizens' comments? Hearing none. Councilwoman Fareed, I do see your hand.
Yes, I just wanted to say thank you to Coach Fields. Really appreciate all that you do in the community and the way that you have just put Glenarden on the map. When I was first looking to move down here, didn't know anything about Glenarden, and I Googled it, and that was what came up, was the Glenarden Track Club. And so even before I moved here, I felt proud that there was an organization that was touching youth in such a way, but also having such a reach across the country. So thank you for all that you do in our community.
All right. Thank you, Councilman Fareed. Only other just announcement is that tomorrow there's a work session. It's virtual. It starts at 6:30, and I will need your availability next week for a special regular session to pass the budget. Is everybody available next Wednesday? Oh, shit. Thursday.
You do what? Pass the budget?
Pass the budget, yep.
We still gotta work on the budget. And the salary, we just got the salary allocation, and whatever that is. I'm thinking, did we go over general?
We went over everything. I think the only thing that was left, we went over everything. Only thing that was left was the salary piece and the edits that the treasurer needed to make.
I don't remember going over general. I don't remember going over that section. Did we go over general? Hey, Mr. Stewart, did we go over general in the budget? The general budget? Did we go over that? The general section of the budget with IWIF and all that other stuff?
For this, oh, yes, we did. We did.
No, we didn't. I don't remember it. I must have been half asleep that day.
Yeah, we did add the general operations section already. Yes.
I remember that.
Yeah, well, Councilman Harris.
Sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
And I found it strange that you didn't discuss the section about the workman's comp.
Right, and that's why I know. That's why I know they breezed over. Because I always bring that up, and I was going to bring it up again too, because I sure ain't got no answers on that one.
Well, Councilman Harris, now you have the updated budget. So every council member has it. Councilwoman Fareed can get that to you. That gives us a little over a week to review it. If you guys want to have another work session,
yeah, I think we do, because I know them salaries. I definitely need to discuss those things, and we're supposed to be doing that in closed session.
What time is the last day of MML usually done? I know it's Wednesday. I know Wednesday.
Yeah, it's like noon or something.
So can we? And I don't want to propose this for anybody. I'm just putting it out there. Like, would Wednesday evening work or no?
No, I gotta drive. I gotta drive back. I ain't gonna get back till 9 p.m. I'm gonna be on the beach.
What you gonna be doing?
I'm gonna be in the beach catching the snails.
All right, so is there a second for another work session for the budget?
I second it. I just don't know.
And then it'll be Thursday.
Who said that?
I mean, I'll be joining on
Thursday.
Thursday it will be virtual.
I have a work.
Oh, okay.
It's fine, I don't want to hold up anybody.
Might be at work.
Might be at work at night.
I have to go retire and I had to clean my office out.
Any, Mr. Councilman Herring, are you available
Right.
next Thursday at 7?
Thursday, what day is that on?
The 29th.
I mean, what date is that? The 29th.
That's the 29th.
I don't think so. I had my own conference that week. Jeez, I have to look and see.
Yeah, the 29th.
All right. So
I have to look and see my schedule.
there we, yeah. I'd rather get y'all when y'all here. So then the next up is the following week.
Without recess?
Oh no, we're not going to recess now.
That's okay.
Oh, we not going?
No. I tried to get y'all out.
Oh, what happened?
You can still vote on the recess. It's just, I mean, recess is just, you still have recess, but you still have meetings.
Yeah. That's true.
You know, you just.
So we can still go on recess in July, but that will mean that we'll put the next up the week of July the 4th, July the 3rd.
Oh.
No, because when
That's 4th of July week.
That's fine. So we could meet 4th of July week. We could meet on that Monday.
The 3rd of July?
The 3rd of July. That's not the holiday. Everybody's off on July the 4th.
And everybody drinking on July the 3rd.
Who's drinking?
Well,
I would say probably the two that one said.
I would start.
They've never done on the other, so it'll be a long weekend, like people travel.
but virtual. Nobody's gonna be available virtual.
You know what? I'm about to fire you.
All right, look, people.
We're gonna do Thursday.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Do Wednesday or Thursday.
All right. So can we do Thursday next week, the 29th, for a work session?
For the budget?
Are there 4 people that can make it
Yeah, I'm not available.
We need 5.
You need
for a work session?
Work session.
Just a work session to go over final touches of the budget. Mr. Herring, are you available next Thursday at 7?
I'll try to, what time, 7?
7.
I'll see if I can make it. If not, I'll be on the Metro talking to
good?
y'all.
Yeah.
Virtual, right?
Virtual.
Yeah, I'll be on the Metro as well.
Ms. Jones, you available next Thursday?
I'm available. In fact, I'm going to the Chiefs, so I'm happy.
Next Thursday?
I don't know, the next day I will be retired, and
I play some code,
Yeah.
so
Seven?
I'll be commuting.
We can do 8.
You still have a get, you know what I mean?
Okay.
So that's fine, if y'all don't mind me doing.
All right, so let's shoot for next Thursday at 7 p.m. We can even make it 7:30 so people can make it. I don't anticipate that work session being that long, right? We went through the budget already. It's just final questions.
Okay.
Do we
Let's
need?
see.
We'll be doing it closed on
Is it o-
employees.
And, yeah.
Yeah. Is it okay if we have the representative from the salary study come?
Yes.
So.
We can go into closed session.
We're gonna go into closed session.
Okay, so are we good at 7 or 7:30 to accommodate everyone?
Because I'll be commuting back from DC. That's just me.
All right, 7:30. 7:30 next Thursday. And then we could plan for the Thursday after that on July the 6th for a special regular session to vote
On the budget and on the red lip camera.
If it's brought back.
on the budget and the red camera thing. So give everybody enough time to review
On the
everything.
golden rules, if we get through with that tomorrow.
So just to verify, we are going into close on Thursday as well about
On the
employees,
29th.
right?
On next week, Thursday the 29th.
Not this Thursday. So
So-
tomorrow is Gold Room meeting.
So, yes, tomorrow's we're meeting with Mr. Gibbs.
And then next week is regular session.
Next week is a special work session to discuss the budget, where we will go into closed session to discuss the salaries. And then the following Thursday on July the 6th will be the special regular meeting where we will vote.
And hopefully they'll be
And then we gonna vote on recess too.
I don't think we have to vote on recess. I think we just go on recess.
Normally we do vote on a recess, but I like to make a motion tonight that we go on a recess in July and August.
Second.
3rd. 4th.
I'm just
Call for the
saying,
vote.
I agree with this, but I mean, we do have to vote.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, and we don't need a
Because it says
resolution.
You can go on you don't need a resolution, just do a motion. I had a motion on the floor with a second, and I'm asking for a vote.
Second already.
All right.
We got.
Any opposition? All right, by unanimous consent, that we'll be in recess for July and August. And with that, is there any other announcements from the council members? Hearing none, the time is 11:30. This meeting is now adjourned.